This 23-year-old Ukrainian woman fled a country at war to live a safer and better life in the United States. But recently, one evening heading home after work, her life was ended in the worst possible way.
Tonight, we're looking at TikTok videos that will scar you forever.
Did you know Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson sold his soul for 20 years of fame?
Thank you to all the channel members for support. Today's pin of doom comes from one of my channel members known as Queen Aphrodite 420. She says subscribe, follow, and comment. Share this out to the last person you texted in your phone. Don't matter if it's your grandma. For that, she gets 3 big let's goes. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Can I show you a scary video? Make sure you pay very close attention to this one because you might miss it.
Guys, beaches all across the US just got shut down over Labor Day weekend because the water literally tested positive for something that you don't want to know. They just found unsafe levels of fecal bacteria in the water. Yes, that means exactly what you think it means, and it just showed up in water tests all across the country. So imagine just for a second that you're one of the people getting ready for the last big weekend of the summer, and then officials are like, yeah, don't touch the water. The ocean basically just failed its annual health inspection. They're saying that Cape Cod, Long Island, California, Florida, and even Hawaii all just had their beaches flagged. Like, you can't escape this. This is coast to coast. These scientists have found that 61% of the beaches that were tested had at least one day with dangerous levels. That's more than half the beaches in the country. If you're wondering how this happened in the first place, they're saying that the heavy rain washed nasty stuff into the water, and then the sewer systems leaked, and then straight up sewage overflowed into the ocean. The risk of swimming in this right now are no joke. There's a warning that you can get infections, stomach bugs, rashes, basically all of the souvenirs that you don't want to get on your trip. And then officials are giving out another warning saying do not swim for 72 hours after rain. And then they're saying that if the water looks cloudy or if it smells a little bit weird, don't cannonball into it. Maybe just stick to the pool this weekend.
Dude, I don't even know if the pool is that much better because people usually pee in pools and stuff like that. So no matter what, you're kind of cooked. But
if you shop at Walmart, your experience is about to get 10 times worse. I'm sorry. Basically, they're switching all their lights, their fluorescence, to 10,000 Kelvin. Now, you may not know what that means. 10,000 is the coolest, bluest artificial light that we have. It's not natural. It's not in the natural light spectrum. It's terrible. When we're in 10,000 Kelvin light, it makes us anxious. It literally puts us into fight or flight mode, triggering the amygdala. So when you're in fight or flight mode, you can't make rational decisions because all decisions in your brain are made with the amygdala, which is the fight or flight, fear, all that part of the brain. This is on purpose and intentional because if you can't make rational decisions, then A, you're going to be a very fast shopper because you're anxious and your body is screaming at you to get out of whatever unnatural space that is that has the 10,000 Kelvin lights. And then 2, it means you're going to overspend because you're not going to be logically making purchases. You're just going to grab things because your heart rate's going to be increased. You're not making good decisions. So basically, if you didn't like going to Walmart before, you're really not going to like it now. I feel bad for the employees who have to work in the 10,000 Kelvin lighting all day with their body screaming at them to escape whatever this is, and they cannot.
to me, it's always crazy how the smallest things can trigger certain things. For example, how the lighting in Walmart can trigger a fight or flight response in your body. To me, that is actually kind of insane.
Scariest videos ever found on the internet. They were just playing at home in California when her son suddenly started pointing to her head and quietly saying something that made her freeze.
Take off my head?
Yeah.
You want me to take off my head?
Yeah.
Why? Do you know what'll happen if you take off my head?
Yeah.
She tried to laugh it off, but he stayed completely serious, like he wasn't pretending at all. And when she asked what he meant, he reached out, grabbed her head gently, and started laughing. She later admitted she believes he might have been an executioner in a past life, and she never posted another video like it. But this one keeps resurfacing, because if you listen closely, it doesn't sound like a child's imagination at all. Her dog started barking like crazy the second the garage door opened by itself, even though she was completely alone in the house. And you can tell from the way he kept pacing that something was off, like he felt something inside. She explained that the door has a keypad lock, so it's hard to get in without the code. And as she slowly started moving closer, thinking about going inside, her dog suddenly jumped back in fear and refused to go near it again. And he looked completely nervous. She posted an update saying nothing changed, but now her dog refuses to even walk past that part of the house. And every night around the same time, she hears a soft clicking sound coming from the garage, like someone trying to enter the code. She was just lying in bed when she heard someone knocking hard on her door, like they were desperate to get in. And it sounded exactly like her sister, but she had just texted that she was out for the night, so she knew something was off. And even though the knocking eventually stopped, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. And she posted an update a few days later, saying it came back again. But this time she decided to confront it, so she opened the door and there was no one there.
This is the first picture the world has ever seen where Putin, Xi Jinping, and Kim Jong-un are all together. And the significance of this gathering cannot be understated. Today, we witnessed China put on the largest military parade in their history. All major roads were closed, schools were shut down, and they even had weeks of midnight rehearsals and security preparations to make sure that today went off without a hitch. One by one, world leaders started arriving, most of which are the names that you would expect, like Kim, Putin, etc. In fact, for good old Kim, it took him 20 hours just to get to China, because he got there on his infamous slow armored bulletproof train, traveling between only 45 and 80 kilometers an hour. However, also attending were world leaders that in the past few decades, they lent more to the West, like Turkey, Egypt, and Vietnam. In fact, no Western leaders attended apart from two. We're looking at you, Serbia and Slovakia. And when Donald Trump saw that Putin, Kim, and Xi were having a 2.5-hour private closed-door meeting, he tweeted this: "May President Xi and the wonderful people of China have a great lasting day of celebration. Please give my warmest regards to Putin and Kim Jong-un as you conspire against the United States." Now, it wasn't just what they spoke about that will be of concern of Western leaders watching. It'll also be the new weapons that China unveiled. These included new powerful laser weapons capable of taking out swarms of drones, burning electronics, or even blinding pilots, new nuclear ballistic missiles with a range capable of striking US mainland, giant underwater unmanned drones, and also a number of weapons which display China's heavy investment in the future of warfare, including drones, smart tanks, AI-assisted weaponry, and of course, even robot dogs. In fact, today on Chinese social media, all of the top searches were about the parade and its weapons, including the fourth one talking about their new ICBMs having the striking range that covers the entire world. But for Xi Jinping, what means more than showing off new weaponry is showing off a new world order, one that challenges the West and its allies, but also one where China is positioned right in the center. In fact, in Xi's speech overlooking the military parade, he said, "The rise of the Chinese nation is unstoppable. Strength may prevail for a time, but over the long arc of history, it's reason that wins." So the question is Donald Trump's foreign policy pushing these countries together to strengthen their relations? Or was what we saw today inevitable and would have happened no matter who was in office?
Respectfully, I definitely think that tariffs is what mainly caused that. But y'all also got to remember, China has been around for damn near 4,000 years. Like, China is one of the longest reigning empires of all time. And America's only been around for like 250 years. So I feel like China inevitably is going to surpass America, but we'll see what happens. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a future teller, but
there's allegedly a hot mic moment that was captured between the Chinese president Xi Jinping and the Russian president Vladimir Putin on September 3rd of 2025 during the big military parade event that was happening in China. Now, the two leaders, who were both 72 years old, were walking towards Tiananmen Square alongside North Korean leader Kim Jong-un when the exchange was inadvertently broadcast by the Chinese state media outlet CCTV. In the footage, Putin's translators heard saying in Chinese that biotechnology is continuously developing, following an inaudible comment from Putin to Xi. And then the translator continues saying, quote, "Human organs can be continuously transplanted. The longer you live, the younger you become."
发展，人类的器官会不断的移植，甚至越活越年轻，甚至会长生不老。预测呢，本世纪呢，可能未来可以活到150岁。
Did you know Dwayne The Rock Johnson sold his soul for 20 years of fame? In the late 90s, he was an unknown wrestler. Then suddenly his career exploded. WWE, Hollywood, millions of fans. People whispered it wasn't luck, it was a deal. They say the price was clear, 20 years of fame, strength, and muscles. 20 years without defeat, he became the symbol of The Rock. But the devil always collects his debt. In 2024 and 2025, he suddenly appeared in public looking exhausted, skinny, without his legendary mass. Fans were shocked. Where did his rock go? And the scariest part is what the contract said. On the 20th year, you give back everything you were given. Now people are asking, is it just age and stress? Or has the terrifying payback for a deal with the devil already begun?
So for those of you that are actually employed and have no idea what's going on, so pretty much The Rock kind of looks like this now. And everyone is like, yo, he usually looks like this. So we're just kind of like, some people think the devil came back for the contract, kind of like what that video was talking about. But at the same time, some people are just saying that he has a heart condition and then he also stopped taking his steroids. Him looking like this is a lot more original, a lot more organic than him looking like this.
The way the doll's hand moves closer towards its chest seems extremely precise and is quite scary to watch if this really is a ghost doing this. There could be some sort of string attached to it that we can't see. But what do you think happened with the doll? Was it moved by a string? Was there actually a ghost in the room that moved its hand? Or is this doll in fact possessed? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. The G-Team Paranormal Investigators are a group of YouTubers that explore various different abandoned and haunted locations in the hopes of catching something paranormal on camera to a large audience. In an upload of theirs published online on March 2nd, 2019, the team goes exploring around what seems to be some sort of a cemetery, as many gravestones can be seen on the ground. For a while, nothing out of the ordinary happens, until the person filming captures something absolutely hair-raising. Have a look and see.
I don't get scared very often. What the hell is that? What is that? Is there something right there? What is that? I don't know. Looks like a dark figure. Stacy, am I fucking seeing things? What is that? Was that a tree or was that something else?
I don't think that didn't look like a tree to me.
There's something there. What is that? Are you seeing what I'm seeing? I don't know what that is either.
Just moments before the dark figure can be seen, if you listen extremely carefully, you can hear what sounds like some sort of growling coming from nearby. It is just a few seconds later when the team captures the dark figure, which seems to be sitting down and causes them to understandably get freaked out. They begin to slowly walk away from it, and it is never seen again in the video. What do you think was captured on camera at the cemetery that day? As always, all of your ideas and opinions are greatly appreciated in the comment section down below. Erwin Saunders looks like your everyday wilderness adventurer who likes to film himself exploring various different locations. In this video that he uploaded on September 30th, 2017, Erwin starts to talk to the camera in a sort of rushed manner. He goes on to talk about something that he has been seeing in this forest, and it doesn't take too long before we get to see what he is talking about. At around 6 minutes into the clip, Erwin points his camera behind him, waiting to capture something on camera. In a matter of seconds, The strange creature appears, which doesn't seem to startle Erwin in the slightest. In fact, he almost sounds happy to see it. Have a look and see what he filmed.
I think I've got the right spot. Hold on. Yeah. Oh. He was just there. Ah, you see? That was a quick glimpse there. Yeah. Okay. He's not there. Oh, sorry about that. He was doing. Oh, there he is. Okay, let's. There. Ah, well, at least we've got a shot of one. Let's keep it up there.
The small creature that you just saw is presumably that of a pixie, which is a mythological creature in British folklore. It is said that you can find them in areas of high moorland areas, and seeing as how the forest that Erwin is in looks very mossy, this makes a lot of sense. It's certainly hard to debunk the idea of this being a pixie, seeing as how it looks exactly like how they are usually depicted in folklore. Of course, this could be some other creature that happens to look like a pixie, but it wouldn't be too much of a surprise if it was eventually revealed that this man captured one of the most interesting mythical creatures on camera. Some people speculate that this pixie seems to be moving a little bit like a puppet, therefore being a hoax. But most people seem to be astonished by this video, claiming it to be the real deal.
If that's truly a real video, then that's a really brave dude, because like, how do you just have your back turned to that unknown creature?
Esto claro, mientras se mueven las cosas y aparecen fantasmas.
Daryl? Good boy. Good boy. Daryl? What is that?
Dude, that genuinely jump scared me. Because at first I was like, what the hell is going on? And then out of nowhere, just, yeah, nah, dude. Freak you, man.
Look at this. Now look at this. Now look at this.
Bro, police just found a man living in the crawl space underneath someone's home in Portland, Oregon. And what this brother was doing was way beyond squatting. He was standing 10 toes down. He had a bed, string up lights, televisions, chargers, and even a freaking PS5 all plugged into the condo's power source. Through an extension, he ran through their vent. And you know what's even crazier? Police were called to this property after a witness reported seeing a man who was not known as a resident parking his car and walking towards the back of one of the buildings. Bro had a freaking car. And it somehow gets even crazier because when police arrived, they discovered that the owner's keys, which unlocked the small door opening, didn't work. That's because this guy, yes, changed the locks on their doors. Now, when police broke through the door, they discovered a 40-year-old man named Benaimin Bakur just chilling inside. A freaking meth pipe was also found in the space. So next time you hear a strange noise coming from your attic or crawl space, it could be nothing. Or it could be a 40-year-old man playing Fortnite.
These are the scariest TikToks. Scroll right now if you're easily frightened, because these TikToks will make you quiver. Coming in at number 1, we have Frog Baby Raw. Some interesting thing going on here. I don't know what's happening, but it looks like they're snacking on a little remote. Pretty creepy if you ask me. Coming in at number 2, I can't read that name, but someone here is eating something. I don't know what it is, but it's very scary. And coming in at number 3, we have Apron, which I don't know what's going on here, but oof, gives me the heebie-jeebies. If you want to see more scary TikToks like these, follow, like, comment, and share for part 2.
By far the most convincing evidence that I've heard for us being in a simulation is, you know, that S that just appears everywhere, the one with like the 3 lines and then the 3 lines and then the triangles that has just been showing up all throughout history, all throughout the world. That S that's been showing up in schools everywhere, somehow just everyone knows it. So the theory is that that S is the logo for the company that runs our simulation. And that...
So for those who are confused like me at first, he's talking about this S. Like, I don't know, I've seen this S since I was like a kid. I remember my cousin used to draw this S up all the time. Like, why? You know what I'm saying? So I've been seeing this S forever. So when he said that, I was like, low key. When you heard about it, you might have been like, I don't really know what S he's talking about. But once you see, you're like, oh yeah, I've seen that S like 100 times. Let me know if you've ever seen that S.
Top 5 common habits that could kill you. Number 5 is biting your nails, apparently, which I've done my entire life. I'm still here to talk about it. And they say it's because there's bacteria under your nails, and when you bite it, you ingest it. And I'm like, what is under my nails? Did I scrape my fingers across a bunch of arsenic? I don't think so. Number 4, bad posture. I don't know if this can kill you. It can turn you into the bell ringer from Notre Dame if you're not careful, but I don't think bad posture is going to kill anybody. Maybe they're bending over so far they fall on their head. Number 3, sleeping with the lights on. How is that going to do anything to you? Number 2, sitting too much. This one is actually real. If you sit and are too sedentary in your life, you can actually restrict blood flow in your body. It's bad for circulation, it's bad for your heart, your brain, everything. If you like this list and want more about other nonsense, follow me. Leave me a comment with an everyday habit that could kill you. Also follow my wife, Samantha, who I've tagged. Number 1, eating too much sugar.
The Batman. On June 28, 2008, 17-year-old Asia LaShawn Ferguson visited Six Flags Over Georgia with his family and church group. The Batman was an inverted roller coaster where passengers' legs dangled freely below the track. During his ride, Ferguson's hat flew off his head. After the ride ended, he wanted to retrieve it. The hat had landed in a restricted area beneath the roller coaster tracks. Warning signs marked the zone as off-limits. Ferguson climbed over 2 6-foot fences to reach the area where his hat had fallen. As he searched below, another train approached on the track above him. The train was traveling at 50 miles per hour. A passenger's dangling foot struck Ferguson in the head. The impact was instant. Ferguson was decapitated. Witnesses saw the collision. The train continued to the station, while Ferguson's body lay below. Six Flags temporarily closed the Batman ride. It reopened the following day. The park added security around restricted areas and more warning signs. Ferguson's death became one of the most graphic roller coaster fatalities in recent years. The Big Dipper. On May 30th, 1972, a warm Tuesday afternoon in London, schools had just broken up for half-term, and Battersea Fun Fair was packed. The Big Dipper was a wooden roller coaster that had been operating since 1951. 3 cars connected by a steel cable. The cable pulled the cars up a steep incline, then gravity did the rest. Around 2:30 p.m., 31 passengers climbed aboard, mostly children and teenagers. At the front rode a brakeman whose job was to control the brakes. The train began its climb. Then the haulage rope snapped. The train hesitated at the top, then started rolling backwards. The brakeman lunged for the brake lever, but nothing happened. The brake system did not respond. The safety devices that should have stopped a rollback were missing or broken. As the train picked up speed, it hit the curve at the bottom at full speed. The wooden track couldn't handle the force. The first car jumped the rails, smashed through the barrier, and plunged 15 feet. The other 2 cars followed. Passengers were thrown from their seats. When the chaos ended, 5 children were dead, and 13 others were seriously injured. Later, a 15-year-old girl who had survived the crash was standing on a wooden walkway when the platform collapsed beneath her feet. She fell to her death. The subsequent investigation revealed 66 safety violations. The rope was in poor condition. Most safety devices were missing or broken. Investigators also found that employees had been drinking and using drugs while working. The ride's manager and engineer were later acquitted of manslaughter charges. The Big Dipper was torn down, and Battersea Fun Fair closed by 1974. Britain brought fairgrounds under safety laws following the incident.
Creepy, uncanny footage that will send chills down your spine.
How could I sound anything silly? I'm plastic. I don't even have a voice box. I had to borrow this one. Don't turn on the light.
Are you going to kill me?
No! I mean, yes, but...
This elderly woman is about to unalive her husband, and I have a feeling you're gonna be okay with it. Now, the woman's name is Ellen, and Ellen is 76 years old, living in Florida, but one day in 2022, she runs into a huge problem. Her husband gets really sick, like deathbed sick. Now, her husband is this guy, Jerry. And him getting sick is devastating for Ellen. I mean, she loves Jerry a lot. I mean, they're a lot like Ellie and Carl from that Pixar movie Up. You know, like they met when they were kids, they went to middle school and high school together, and eventually, later in their teens, they started dating, and they fell in love, and they ended up getting married. And they stay married for 53 years. They've gone through everything together. But now, it's all starting to fall apart because he's sick. And Ellen will do anything to save him. I mean, she admits him into the intensive care unit at the hospital. She stays with him by his bed 14 hours a day, only leaving to get food or to go sleep at night. She's dedicating her life to saving him. But then she notices that the nurses and doctors don't seem to be treating him well. Like one time, 2 nurses are moving Jerry on the bed and they bump his head on the headboard and Ellen's like, "Be careful!" And one of the nurses gives her attitude and says, "I guess I won't come into this room anymore." And Ellen doesn't want them to stop showing up, so she has to beg these nurses saying, "If anything happens to Jerry while I'm gone during the night, please call me." And the nurses are like, "All right." But then, the next day, when Ellen comes in, she sees that the nurses had strapped Jerry to the bed. Apparently, he had some incident during the night, so they strapped him down, then they just left him there alone. And so Ellen, she gets super pissed off, and she starts arguing with them, like, "Why didn't you call me like I asked? I would have come to help him." And the nurses are like, "It's not our job to call you." And so Ellen is fed up with this hospital staff. She has had enough. So she calls a private nursing company and hires a paid nurse to come watch Jerry during the night while Ellen is asleep. So this should help. However, a few weeks later, Ellen finds that the nurse she hired to watch Jerry during the night is literally sleeping on the job. And so Ellen argues with the hospital nurses again, like, "Why didn't you tell me the paid nurse was sleeping while she was supposed to be watching my husband?" And these nurses are like, "Once again, it's not our job." And so at this point, Ellen doesn't know what to do. She can't get the help for Jerry that she needs. Meanwhile, Jerry's condition just keeps getting worse. He's getting sicker and sicker, and at this point, he can barely eat, he can barely speak, and then one day, the worst thing happens. Jerry finally breaks the news to Ellen. He tells her, "I'm not making it out of the hospital." And then he tells her, "I just want the suffering to end." And then he looks at Ellen and he asks her, "Will you please end it for me?" And of course, poor Ellen, she doesn't know what to do. She can't unalive Jerry, then he'll be gone and she'll go to prison. So Ellen and Jerry spend weeks discussing it, and finally they come up with a plan. After living together for 53 years, they decide that they're gonna die together. And they agree that she is going to use their pistol to unalive him and then herself, which is just heavy. And so eventually the big day comes. The day they talked about, the day they planned for, their last day on this earth. And Ellen shows up to the hospital like she always does, but this time she's got Jerry's old pistol. She snuck it in. So she walks into Jerry's room, she sits down, she shows it to him, and she asks him, "Are you sure?" And Jerry, he can barely speak, but he indicates that yes, he is sure. So then, Ellen points it at him, and she pulls the trigger. But of course, it's not over, because she now has to do herself. Meanwhile, there's a nurse nearby, and he hears this gunshot, and he's like, what the f*** was that? And he runs into Jerry's room, and he can see what happened. And Ellen is still there, and she's still holding the pistol, and she points it at him, and she's like, get out of here, leave me alone. And the nurse is like, oh shit, because he thinks she's gonna shoot him. So he runs out of the room, and he yells, there's a shooter! And so, of course, everyone freaks out. It's complete chaos now. People are running away, patients and staff are running around trying to evacuate the whole floor, the hospital staff panics, and boom, the whole place goes on lockdown. And so pretty quickly, the police show up, and they bust into the hospital, and they go up to Jerry's room, and there they find Ellen. And she's still sitting down, she's holding the pistol with one hand, and she's holding Jerry's hand with the other. And she appears to be hesitating, because she's trying to decide what she's gonna do. She told Jerry that they would die together. However, doing this to herself is much harder than she initially thought, so she needs a minute. And so she points that pistol at the door so that no one will come in the room while she makes her decision. But police, they don't have any context for any of this. All they see is a woman pointing a pew-pew at them who had just shot and killed a man and who had also threatened a nurse. And they feel like they need to use whatever means necessary to end what they see as a threat. And so now, 76-year-old Ellen is officially in a standoff with police.
Police department on your hands! Drop the gun! Drop the gun right now! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Man, hold on. You got no dialogue. Man, tell me what's going on. Tell me I don't want to hurt you. We don't want to hurt you. Tell me what's going on.
And a few hours pass, and they're still in this standoff. And by this point, Ellen has finally made her decision. She's gonna do it. She's gonna unalive herself. And so she goes to do it, and suddenly, boom, a flashbang goes off, which is like a grenade that just creates a flash. And then pow, officers bust into the room. And Ellen is disoriented by the flashbang, and blam, she accidentally shoots the pistol, and the bullet nearly hits an officer, missing by like an inch. And so officers are like, oh shit, she's shooting at us. And they start shooting back at her, and they nearly hit her. So then one officer yells out, please ma'am, I have young children. And Ellen's like, why the hell do I care? Why are you telling me about your children? And that is when she finally realizes that police think she is a threat to them. And Ellen never wanted to hurt anyone in all this. And so she drops the pistol to the floor and she raises her hands and she surrenders. And so, bam, police arrest her. Here they are wheeling her out of the hospital with her hands all zip-tied. Also, here's her mugshot. And so here's where everything gets complicated, as if it wasn't complicated before. Even though Jerry wanted to die and he asked to be shot, Ellen gets charged with first-degree murder for shooting him. And they're trying to throw her in prison for life. And so she goes to trial for all this. And here in the courtroom, you can actually see how, old and non-threatening she looks. And so in court, she explains that she was just fulfilling her husband's dying wish. And the judge seems to sympathize with her. But, you can't be shooting a pistol in a hospital, like pointing it at the staff and stuff. And so, after all that, Ellen gets sentenced to 1 year in prison.
Yo, what a story, man. I mean, you know what I'm saying? The judge probably felt for her because 1 year in prison is not bad at all.
This 23-year-old Ukrainian woman fled a country at war to live a safer and better life in the United States. But recently, one evening heading home after work, her life was ended in the worst possible way. The horrifying incident occurred on the 22nd of August in Charlotte, but security footage of what actually happened was just released for the first time. It was 9:46 p.m. and the video shows a very normal looking train with everyone minding their own business, talking, or on their phone. But there's one man in a red hoodie identified as DeCarlos Brown looking restless and agitated. Around 30 seconds later, Irena Zoretska gets on the train wearing a cap and a t-shirt from a pizzeria and sits in front of DeCarlos. She has AirPods in and just like everyone else is minding her own business and using her phone. Now it remains this way for the next 4 minutes until DeCarlos can be seen randomly taking out a pocket knife, standing up, and completely unprovoked stabbing Irena several times from behind. She didn't even have a chance to see the attack coming. Now, as for the attacker, DeCarlos Brown actually has a history of violent crime and mental illness. He's been arrested multiple times and even served a 5-year prison sentence for robbery with a deadly weapon. To make matters worse, he wasn't even supposed to be allowed on the train that night because he didn't have a ticket. Police detained him just hours after the attack and he has since been charged with first-degree murder. As for the other passengers on board, some told local news that they were traumatized by what they saw and that they don't know how long it'll be before they're able to use public transportation again.
Well, if any of the other videos didn't scar y'all forever, that one definitely did. Imagine just being on a train by yourself, chilling, you know what I'm saying, on your phone. You know what I'm saying? Your parents or your mom just texted you or something. The next thing you know, you're getting freaking in your neck 7 different times by a random.
The worst internet trends to ever exist. Part 1. In 2012, the Cinnamon Challenge took the internet by storm. Thousands of people were uploading videos of them trying to swallow a spoonful of cinnamon, but little did anyone know is that this was extremely dangerous. Most people ended up inhaling the cinnamon instead of swallowing. This could cause an allergic reaction and affect your ability to breathe. Because of this challenge, multiple people ended up passing away. The Blue Whale Challenge was a game that gave people tasks to do within a 50-day period. It would start off innocent, but slowly get more and more disturbing. This would all lead up to the last day where the game would ask the person to unalive themselves. Unfortunately, over 100 people passed away because of this trend.
Dude, I remember the Cinnamon Challenge. That was like one of the most inescapable challenges. It was like everyone was almost doing it. I think that was like, what, back in 2015 or 16?
There's like a trend going around where it's like, let's ignore all the celebrities. Have you seen that? Celebrities, have you seen that?
Nah,
So
I haven't seen
this
it.
This girl went viral on TikTok. She's like, guys, what if we just all get together and just ignore a certain celebrity and just don't comment, don't like on her post, right?
Yeah.
So the first target was Kim Kardashian.
Oh,
Kim Kardashian
shit.
has 4 million followers on TikTok.
Yeah.
Guess how much likes she got on her recent?
How much?
10K.
Damn, so it worked. It
Yeah,
worked.
it worked. And everybody in the comments is like, oh my god, guys, it's working. And on that comment, there's like way more likes than the actual video.
Oh, bro, that's crazy.
So it's like, yo, let's ignore all the celebrities.
You know
now.
what though?
Yeah.
It's really that's a revolution type
That's
of thing.
what I'm saying.
Because you think about it like this, right? Eventually we gave too much attention to some people where it's a monopoly.
Yeah.
Like it's not even fair anymore. You know? And once they reach a certain level, they just reinvest into it and then nobody else can come back up with them. It's just they want to stay at the top. Everything is attention. That's what I learned. Like literally every single thing is attention.
These are scary challenges that you should never do. Up first is Charlie Charlie. This challenge allows you to talk to a demon and ask it any questions you want. People who played this game said it was the scariest thing that they ever done, and their experience still scares them to this day. Next up is the Kylie Jenner Lip Challenge. This challenge seems very innocent at first, but it can cause some serious damage to your lips, so I don't recommend ever doing this. Next up is the Eraser Challenge. All you do for this challenge is get an eraser and rub it vigorously on your skin. It will then cut you and make you bleed and cause permanent scars. So if you don't want permanent scars, don't do this challenge.
Here are some of the worst trends of 2023. The human race fascinates me every single day. I sometimes cannot even believe we are considered to be the smartest living specimen on this planet. Human beings are fucking stupid. This is why. The breaking bone trend, which is a trend where people would purposely break certain bones on their face to alter their facial structure to make themselves look more handsome. I can't believe my eyes right now. Putting a penny in a plug outlet challenge. If you didn't know, if you were to try to do that, your plug would blow the fuck up. They don't mix well together. It was so bad that people started to do this at their school, and one person lit their school on fire from this. Lastly, the eating Tide Pod challenge. People are still doing this. Hey look, if you ever have to do dumb shit for attention, you're just a clown, because that's what clowns do. Here are some dangerous hand signs that you should know. For your own safety. Around the world, there are general hand signs that everyone abides by. Like for example, this universally means fuck you. And pointing like this, some people consider that rude. Personally, I don't give a fuck. But in the Philippines, because pointing is so rude, they give duck lips as a way to signify pointing wherever they want to point. Here are some of the deadliest internet trends. Off the rip, don't do any of these, don't try any of these. This is for educational purposes, you know the drill. The salt and ice challenge. I actually did this a very, very long time ago and I had a scar on my hand from how bad it was. I did it when I was 12, but basically it's where you put salt on your hand and you hold onto an ice cube and then you just see how long you can hold onto it for. It gives you frostbite. It was just a dumb internet trend that I don't know why anybody did, myself included. The cinnamon challenge, where you put cinnamon on a spoon and you eat it like ice cream and try to keep the cinnamon in your mouth for as long as possible. A lot of people ended up choking on this, and people ended up from doing this internet challenge. Finally, the hot chip challenge. It's exactly what it sounds, you all know what it is. A bunch of people ended up dying from this, so obviously don't attempt this, and be safe out there.
Dude, is that even a fact? Did the people actually die from the hot chip challenge? I'm gonna have to look that up right now. Damn, they said someone actually did die. It says, yes, a 14-year-old kid in Massachusetts died after participating in the one chip challenge in September 23. But he had an underlying condition. The autopsy said he had a congenital heart defect and an enlarged heart. Combined with the extreme chip is believed to cause his death. So, yep, someone in fact did end up dying. That's really sad.
Most disturbing internet trends you'll be glad were left in the past. Firstly, we have the Blue Whale Challenge. It was an online game which would give people tasks to do in a 50-day period. And these tasks would start off innocent and slowly get more gruesome until the last day where it asked the person to take their life. Unfortunately, over 100 people died because of this trend. This was nothing to be played with. Next, we have subway surfing. And no, I'm not talking about the game, but people actually subway surfing, and I think we can all understand why this is a bad idea. Now we have the ice cream trend, when people would get a carton of ice cream, lick it, and put it back. Now this is just totally unsanitary and messed up. And finally, we have the Kylie Jenner lip challenge, when people would suck on bottles and jars to make their lips look like Kylie Jenner. However, this left some people with their lips permanently scarred.
These are the deadliest TikTok trends to ever exist, part 5.
Up first is the tooth filling challenge. In this challenge, people rub their teeth extremely hard with a nail file.
And as you could assume, this is not good for your teeth.
Dentists and dental students had to explain why this challenge was so dangerous.
People who did this challenge completely destroyed their tooth enamel
and damaged their teeth beyond repair. This challenge is completely stupid, and who in their right mind would grind their teeth with a nail file?
This is the meanest trend on TikTok. So the trend starts out with the picture of a random person. Now the random person is always someone that people consider to be unattractive. Then you show a picture or video of yourself in the second part. Now the second part is supposed to be your glow up. Now because the first picture is a random person, a lot of people feel like this trend is very mean. Basically, people are saying it's wrong to compare yourself to a random stranger that has no say as to whether or not they're in your video, and then say that you're like the better looking version of them. What do y'all think about this?
What's the most dangerous trend? The blackout challenge. It's where you hold your breath or have somebody choke you out until you literally black out, which would often result in heart attacks, brain damage, or even death.
The dumbest TikTok trends to ever exist. There was a trend where some fitness influencers were eating dog food for the extra protein. Yes, eating dog food. Now, eating dog food can give you a little thing called foodborne illness, which can cause a variety of symptoms like death. There was a trend in Indonesia where people were eating candy covered in liquid nitrogen. Now, this candy normally would be safe to eat once the liquid nitrogen burns off, but people weren't exactly doing that. Yeah, liquid nitrogen, Not a safe thing to put in your body. After 25 kids ended up in the hospital, the government had to step in and tell people not to do this shit. For the Borg trend, people made gallon-sized alcoholic drinks to help them get blackout wasted. And people overdid it so goddamn hard. You know alcohol poisoning? Yeah, that kind of exists. Oh, and surprise, surprise, over 50 college students ended up in the hospital trying this shit.
The top 5 most dangerous TikTok trends to ever exist. Number 5 is the Benadryl challenge. The Benadryl challenge consisted of taking a bunch of Benadryl until you hallucinate. How dumb are people, really? I mean, come on. And you know what? I take a normal amount of Benadryl, and the next morning, I don't even know who I am, so I can't even imagine how these people felt if they lived through this. Number 4 is the penny challenge. The penny challenge was this bright idea to stick a penny in between where the phone is charging and an electrical socket, and it created sparks. Big surprise there, Benjamin Franklin. You figured it out. You stick metal in the electric socket, it's gonna cause a spark to come out, idiots. Number 3 is the not wearing a seatbelt on the Guardians of the Galaxy ride. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm terrified of this ride as is with the safety harness on. So to go on there without a safety belt and to film myself flopping, flying up and down on the ride sounds like a dumbass idea. Number 2 is the Skull Crusher Challenge. The Skull Crusher Challenge consisted of 2 assholes standing on either side of an ignoramus. And they'd have the ignoramus jump in the air, and then they'd kick their legs out from under them and have them fall on their head. How rude is that? If I ever woke up from that, there'd be hell to pay for those assholes. If you like my list and want more lists about other nonsense, follow me. Leave me a comment with the most dangerous TikTok trend you've heard of. And number 1 speaks for itself, the Blackout Challenge.
Yo, that guy was lethal. He was not holding back. He said the ignoramus. The 2 in between the ignorant. That's hilarious, bro. Shout outs to that dude.
The ice cream licking trend has returned. A new video has surfaced of a young man opening the ice cream, licking it, closing it, and placing it back in the refrigerator for someone to come and purchase it. I don't know about you, but me personally, I wouldn't want to buy an ice cream toda lambida pa la chingada, ¿verdad? In the video, you can also see he gets his 2 fingers, dips it in, and one final lick. I don't know if you guys remember, but this was a trend about a year ago or 2, and everybody was doing it. They were posting the videos of them licking the ice cream and putting it back. A lot of people got charged and arrested. Make sure that when you go buy ice cream, that the lid is not too open, there's no fingerprints, double check. You know, like this, double check. And make sure that your ice cream doesn't look like this.
Please don't start this trend back up again.
Let me taste it. Alright, hurry up, put it back. Hurry up, put it back. Come on, let's run.
These are the deadliest TikTok trends to ever exist, part 2. Up first is the Cha-Cha Slide Challenge. In this challenge, people would drive to the song The Cha-Cha Slide, and whenever the song went to the left or to the right, you would basically swerve your car in that direction. And a lot of people would just swerve into oncoming traffic. The amount of people that got into a car crash doing this challenge is absolutely crazy. And the fact that people actually did this makes no sense. Next up is the Tide Pod Challenge. Everybody remembers this challenge, and it was definitely one of the deadliest. In this challenge, people would just eat Tide Pods, which, as you could assume, isn't healthy for you. And as of right now, 8 people have died from doing this challenge. So whatever you do, never eat a Tide Pod.
I think I could say for humans being one of the smartest creatures on this planet, we sure do some stupid things.
I was just sitting here thinking about the worst trends that I've seen, and it had to have been the devious licks. When I was in high school, if you had a nice bag and you left it unattended, it's getting snatched. People were taking school supplies, shoes, clothes. These motherfuckers here! Niggas install a hand sanitizer machine. The toilet? You ain't got a toilet at the crib? The bathroom stall door. You tell me, what the are you doing with that? Coming up on Chromebooks, crazy. Fire extinguishers, what? The fire alarm. Now you're just putting everybody in danger. And I gotta give a warning, do not do this shit, bro. This trend was so terrible. Like, I seen superintendents on the verge of tears. Hella videos, they getting on the intercom talking about, we can't afford this shit. Stop, like, you crazy. This trend was so terrible, it's banned. Try to search it up, you'll get the same message. Motherfucker couldn't go outside, play catch, ride a bike. No, let's just hit a lick on the f***ing school sinks. Never in all of my school years did I have the urge to take the paper towel dispenser. Like, y'all were tweaking.
Tell me why I remember that challenge. At the time, I was still in high school. I remember, it was after COVID, and I literally remember, like, people would go in, break things, take things. Like, dude, what are you doing? My school, personally, we didn't do it that much. But, like, I just remember seeing videos online. I'm like, yo, why are people taking sinks? Like, do you need a sink for your house, bro?
I really thought people were gonna let this trend slide. So a bunch of white girls on TikTok are currently doing this trend where they'll take a picture of themselves and then use AI on the picture. And the first picture will be captioned something like, we're just two white girls or whatever. And then the second one will be something like, but we were born to be two Indian men. Now this trend started going really viral. A lot of people started doing it. And a lot of people that saw the trend in the comments actually started getting upset by it. But the white girls, they didn't care. They just kept posting the videos. I don't know why I said it like that. Now it eventually got to the point where a lot of people in the Indian community on TikTok started seeing the videos, and instead of telling the white girls to stop, they basically said, hey, if we can't beat them, let's join them. So they started doing their own version of the trend where they go from being Indian to being blonde and white. Now, after a lot of the white girls saw this, they got very upset with this reversal of the trend. Basically, they're saying like, hey, you can't do this to us, even though you did it to them. And now there's just a bunch of terrible comments on both sides of this trend with people trying to defend like whichever side they associate with. Now look, I don't think the comments on either side are necessarily okay because people are being terrible on both sides. But you shouldn't get upset with people doing stuff like this when you start out by doing stuff like this. The most dangerous social media trend ever is happening right now. So there's this trend where people are going and finding high places and just hanging from them. They're hanging from windowsills, off of bridges, off of buildings, off of anything tall that they can find. Now, normally when trends like this happen, you see it on the news and there's like one person that did it, kind of like that kid that did that thing with the butterfly wings. But this trend is different because there are hundreds, if not thousands of people that are currently participating in it right now. And there have already been actual reported injuries from this trend. So far, what I found is one girl who did the trend actually fell while doing it and had to go to the hospital from that fall. Apparently, she was that high up. Now, if people keep doing this trend, there's just going to be more and more injuries. And this is the type of trend that if you get an injury from it, you're either going to be in the hospital or pass away.
This may be the worst trend in all of TikTok history. Trust me, I know that's a very bold thing to say. We've had a lot of bad TikTok trends over the years, but I think this one takes the cake. So for those of you that have not seen this trend yet, basically what people are doing is they are opening up a water bottle like this person right here behind me, and then putting the water bottle in front of their cat to make it seem like they're going to give their cat some water. Naturally, of course, cats are going to be curious. They're going to inspect the water bottle and, try to actually drink some of the water. And when they are about to do this, like this cat right here behind me, the person holding the water bottle decides to squeeze the water bottle, causing water to go all over the cat. Now, I don't want to show what happens, but you obviously could guess what happens. The cat just, freaks out because water just went all over them, And this is exactly how a cat loses trust in their owner. I feel like anyone partaking in this trend is just not a very good pet owner, and just so much could go wrong, especially, a cat being so small with small noses. So once again, I think this is the worst trend in TikTok history. If you partake in this trend, shame on you. I would never do something like this to my cats. I actually love them. And I'm curious to know your thoughts about all this.
I don't know who's going to like my thoughts on this, but like me personally, that's definitely not the worst TikTok trend. Like we just saw like a list of some crazy trends. That was low-key like one of the, not sweetest, but like one of the like the lighter trends.
Wow, I feel violated right now.
I did grab his butt. I'm single. And I couldn't help it. He was just so delicious. So little. Just.
We have to be naked on stage during one full song, or drink a cup of blended worms. Answer Justin Bieber.
I have like little girl fans. I can't go.
Okay, imagine that.
Can I say this? Lean into me again. You smell amazing. How old are you?
Thank you.
Do you ever remember smelling that good at 16? Like that was bad. Wow, look at your eyes. What music are you listening to at the moment, Justin?
Explain this to me. Is that a new tattoo?
This is a new tattoo.
Oh, God. How many do you have?
I have a couple, just a couple.
Well, tell me that's the last one.
It might be.
No, it is. You don't, I mean, honestly.
So, you know, I got Believe. Hey, this is brand new.
But, it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. And we gonna go full crazy.
I do remember there was a time where like the media was like always just obsessed with Justin Bieber. Like, I mean, I guess that's what happens when you're just like young and successful.
We got the worst trends to ever exist. These are things people do every single day that we gotta stop. I'm not even gonna lie. Let's go. Alright, first we got sagging. Bro, why do dudes, grown ass men over the age of 20, walk around places with their butt out? What are you doing, bro? Is this a signal? You want me to do something about this, bro? Cause I know a couple. Hey, but for real though, y'all gotta stop walking around with y'all ass out. Y'all are grown ass men, bro. What is the point of flexing your booty cheeks? Stop flexing your butt cheeks, bro. All right, now we got the believing in astrology. I know it might not be a trend, but can we stop? Let's just stop, bro. We can all just agree on this video. Let's stop. It don't matter if I'm born in March. That don't mean I'm mad. Oh, I'm an Aries, so now you're generally mad. Now you making me mad. I ain't gonna lie. And we got this era, the Lil Pump era, the worst era of music of all time.
Here's a summary of why Diddy was arrested and some other disturbing things all in 60 seconds. He was arrested for abusing and coercing women and men into fulfilling his desires. He would force them to do things that they didn't want to do and record all of it. Now, over 50 people have come forward and talked about it, one being his ex-girlfriend, Cassie. Now, there is a video of him abusing her, and she said over 10 years she was trafficked, abused, and R-worded by him multiple times. Then there's Lee Cardello Smith, who was allegedly spiked by Diddy and then R-worded. He also said that Diddy had sex trafficking parties with illegal substances and underage girls. Jada Smith sent her son Jaden Smith to live with Diddy, knowing what was going on in that house. They found over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and over 700 used toys. Diddy's mom was allegedly part of these freak-offs, and there's even a video of them kissing while getting IV drips. Diddy also has a 50-foot bed in his garden. Multiple celebrities were seen at his party, and if you want to see who those are, check out my previous video.
This man has spent the last 2 years building an entire town for his pets, and it will blow your mind. It all started with an apartment for his Shiba Inu and cats, but when people saw the excruciating level of detail that Jing put into it, it went viral. I mean, it is so realistic that it makes it look like the cat is the thing that's fake. Bro, he even created an underground den for his hamster, and then inside that, another even smaller room for his spider. What the hell? And so naturally, people wanted more. So, Jing started building more, like an elevator, a mini robo-vacuum, a gaming room complete with a sneaker collection, figurines, and model cars. And yes, this apartment even has running water. He then spent the next 2 months building an underground parking garage for his pets and even added cameras and put Shiba-san as the head of security. But you know what his pets really needed after that? A seaside retreat to get away from the city. So bro built them an entire private island. Not that kind of island. It took him over a month to build, and it comes with real flowing water, a painted horizon, and is themed on How to Train Your Dragon. And thinking a private island was probably a good place to stop, he then finds out that Ting Hao was pregnant with 7 kittens. And so he suddenly realized this apartment wasn't big enough for a growing family. So naturally, he started building an entire town. Over the months, he built his pets a spa, a supermarket, yes, with real meat, a bank, a cinema, which took him another 2 months to build because he had to 3D print over 1,000 separate parts. He built them a billiards club, a Meow Donald's, and even copped his hamster a cyber quad and his cats a cyber truck. But by far, the biggest addition to Cat Town was the working subway station. This took Jing over 4 months to build, and some of the most challenging parts was figuring out how to open the train doors and platform doors simultaneously, and also how to create a working escalator. But of course, he achieved both of them beautifully, and today, Cat Town has affordable transportation. Now, the biggest question he gets asked all the time is why? Why spend all this time and money on your pets like this? Well, he said that it started just as a fun little idea to attract more customers, customers to his wife's pet store, which she recently opened. But then it just spiraled out of control because he loves what he does and it makes his son happy.
Dude, I hope to God somebody is paying him for all that, because it definitely took him like almost probably 2 years to fully make all that. I mean, he did have a YouTube plaque, so he probably just like, you know what I'm saying, post videos about it, which I hope he did. And that's actually kind of crazy. So apparently they're saying this is a new video of space. Isn't that crazy? Yo, to me it looks exactly like the Hollywood movies. But yeah, apparently this is the newest, most out of date, I guess you could say, picture of space. Looks pretty cool, I guess. Or it could just be fake. Let me know what you guys think about it. It's crazy that some people think this is Hollywood and some people think it's real. At the end of the day, you really would never know unless someone like exposes something.
This disturbing video shows what it's like being in purgatory.
I'm Wanda June, and today was going to be my birthday. But I was hit by an ice cream truck before I could have my party. I'm dead now, and I'm in heaven. You see, that's why my parents didn't pick up the cake at the bakery. Oh, I'm not mad at the ice cream truck driver. Even though he was drunk when he hit me. It didn't hurt much. It wasn't even as bad as the sting of a bumblebee. I'm really happy here. You know, I'm glad the driver was drunk. If he hadn't have been, I might never have got to heaven for years and years and years. I would have had to go to the high school first, and then to beauty college, and I would have had to get married and have babies and everything. Now I can just play and play and play. Everybody up here is happy. The animals, the dead soldiers, the people who went to the electric chair, and everything. Nobody's mad. We're all too busy playing shuffleboard. So if you think of killing anybody, don't worry about it. Just go right ahead and do it. Whoever you do it to should kiss you for doing it. Oh, the soldiers just love the shrapnel and the tanks and the bayonets. And the dum-dums that let them play shuffleboard all the time and drink beer.
That video was unironically really freaky. Like, am I tripping for that?
Okay guys, it is official. Charlie Kirk is dead. Donald Trump just confirmed on Truth Social moments ago, saying the great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States better than Charlie. He was 31 years old and leaves behind a wife and 2 children. Buckle up. Things are about to get crazy.
I mean, this is very recent news, so like as the days go on and the weeks go on, we'll find out more information. But there's a video that leaked and he apparently got shot in the neck, and like it was bad, because I saw the whole video. I can't put it on YouTube obviously because it's really bad, so if you want to see it yourself you can look it up. But he got shot in the neck and it just started like, yeah, it was bad, dude. At his rally, it was bad. Later in the video we're gonna see someone talk about it because they were there live, so that we have live phone recordings from people calling the police about the situation. We have a dude that explains like how you can actually survive getting shot in the neck. This is to come later in the video, so make sure to stick around.
What does human taste like? I would say it has a sweetness of horse. Horse is a very sweet meat, but also some of the qualities of pork meat, and I would say that depends on the person. A very extremely lean person will taste less good than a person with a little body fat.
A warning tonight from the NYPD and the FBI about increased threats against critical infrastructure here in the city. Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch says threats are typical this time of year around the UN General Assembly, Jewish high holidays, and 9/11.
We take all threats seriously, and we are working with our federal partners through our Joint Terrorism Task Force as we investigate. Out of an abundance of caution, we are surging resources, and you can expect to see an increased police presence at critical infrastructure locations.
The commissioner said the threats against infrastructure include bridges and tunnels connecting Queens and Manhattan. Police sources say that these specific threats are not related to the Israeli attack in Qatar.
Okay, everybody, you've probably heard the situation that happened in North Carolina. Say the name Irina Zarutska. Irina Zarutska was just riding public transit. By the way, she was a refugee from Ukraine, of all places, and she came to Charlotte, North Carolina. And a terrible person, well, you saw what happened. I can't describe it here on TikTok without some sort of community guideline being violated. But if you haven't seen the video, you absolutely should. This individual should not have been on the streets, 14 prior arrests. And it really makes you wonder, why are we putting up with this? Why are we allowing so many people that have committed these crimes to keep on being released? The magistrate judge continued to release this individual, and this is a horrific thing. You know, it's really interesting. The media was totally covering George Floyd, tens of thousands of articles, reconfigured and changed the entire American body politic. But when it came to Irina Zarutska, the entire media was quiet, silent. In fact, we forced them to cover the story. Why do you think that is? What was the difference between George Floyd and Irina Zarutska? Why did the left care so much about George Floyd and they couldn't care less about Irina Zarutska? What could the difference be? I wonder. Would love for you guys to leave some comments.
Yeah, so that was a dude that actually recently just got shot at his I don't know what he was having, maybe like a like he was having something like a press conference or something. He ended up getting shot and killed. I mean, he's a political figure, and you know what I'm saying, I don't think people should be getting killed over their opinions, in my opinion. He did say something like, what's the difference between that girl and George Floyd? And it's very crazy and ironic that he was commenting about a girl. This was in one of my previous videos this week about this girl that got stabbed in the neck on a train. She was just minding her own business, and out of nowhere some dude came behind her and just for no reason whatsoever. I'm gonna tag the video here, and this is the video that I showed the clip, and he was saying, what's the difference between that situation and George Floyd? Well, she's a white girl and George Floyd was a black dude, but I feel like George Floyd was more about police brutality compared to this, where it's like civil on civil crime, you know what I'm saying?
Okay guys, this is breaking news. It's happening right now, September the 10th, 2025. NASA are actually live as I speak, confirming after a year of scientific study that they can officially say there was once, and maybe still is, life on Mars. This is real, guys. It's possibly the biggest announcement ever to happen in the history of the planet. So don't keep your head in the sand about this. Check it out. I've got a little clip here that I want to show you.
Really is an exciting day today. NASA, what we do is we study the seemingly impossible. That's what we do every day at NASA Science. And NASA Science is undisputably the global authority in the search for life beyond our home planet. So last July, as Secretary Duffy eloquently described, NASA's Perseverance rover found a leopard-spotted rock at Mars. And scientists immediately knew. It was interesting, we hadn't seen anything like that before on Mars. And we talked about it last summer. The moment we found it, we put out the images for everybody to see and everybody to share in the joy of NASA Science. And so they've done the analysis on these leopard spots, and we think they are potentially made by some sort of ancient life. This finding by our incredible Perseverance rover is the closest we've actually come to discovering ancient life on Mars. And if you can't tell, we're really excited about that.
I'm going to do a longer, more thorough video on this, more details emerge, but for the time being, I find this extremely exciting. And I'm also questioning what this means with regards to the current times that we're living in. A lot to take in. What are your thoughts? Let me know.
I'd definitely say it's very interesting that they found some sort of like relic that potentially could be life on a different planet. That kind of makes you question, like, why is there no longer life on Mars? Like, what really happened? Dude, $100 billion in 1 hour? How do you make $100 billion in an hour? There's some people that's probably watching this video that makes between $15 to like $100 per hour. This dude just did $100 billion in 1 hour.
She locked her son inside the chicken coop when he was just a baby, and over the next 7 years, he was raised by the birds. He learned to move like them and make strange bird-like sounds instead of talking. And because he only ate chicken food, he didn't get enough vitamins, causing his bones to warp and bend. Even after he was rescued, he moved around like a chicken, and though he eventually learned English, his body never fully recovered.
Singapore has become the first country to classify turbulence as a major in-flight threat. This comes after last year during a Singapore Airlines flight operated by a 777, a 73-year-old died when the plane encountered clear air turbulence. As a result of that incident, as well as many others, the Civil Aviation Authority of Singapore has classified severe air turbulence as a, quote, state-level operational safety risk. This means it has the same risk classification as mid-air collisions as well as unauthorized incursions on the runway. Will other countries follow suit? I guess we'll find out.
Also breaking, at least 2 students were wounded in a shooting at a high school in Evergreen, Colorado. This is about 28 miles southwest of Denver. Our sister station there reports those 2 students were taken to a hospital in critical condition. Officials say the suspect is, quote, neutralized. They've not said anything more.
So this video is going to be released on 9/11. That currently happened on September 10th. Charlie Kirk also died September 10th. Back to back, so it was like 2 back to back, just like what is going on?
A mass shooting by a 13-year-old boy was prevented from happening by police last week in Washington state. Police raided his house after he had made threats to kill, finding everything ready to go to commit a mass shooting. Police say, based on his online posts, he had school shooter ideations. It was so risky that it was necessary for SWAT to take down the boy at his home located in a suburban area of Parkland, Washington. At around 1 a.m. this past weekend, SWAT found a collection of 23 firearms, several boxes of ammunition, loaded magazines with school shooter writings on them, as well as clothing and writings typical to a mass shooting scenario. If the 13-year-old would have succeeded, it would have not been the first school shooting this year. Last month, 2 young children were killed in a church attached to a school, and more than a dozen people were wounded.
Police in Washington state say this is the arsenal of weapons found in the home of a 13-year-old boy they believe was planning a school massacre.
Every detective, every SWAT member that went into that home, 100% will say that we stopped a major mass shooting from happening.
The suspect appearing in court Monday, pleading not guilty to multiple felonies. In charging documents, prosecutors say the teen had written threats on social media, sharing photographs holding semi-automatic rifles.
He had everything packed and ready to go, and it likely was just a matter of time before he decided to cause havoc in our community.
Authorities say they found 23 weapons in the home, many of which were unsecured. And there were several handguns and homemade long guns that had been made using 3D printed parts known as ghost guns, a growing concern for law enforcement.
It's concerning to know how many of these guns are being made and whose hands they're going into.
According to police, the suspect was obsessed with school shooters, and the walls of his room were covered with drawings and pictures of past shootings. They say he also had a gas mask and a backpack full of ammunition, including several AR-style magazines, which had writings on them referencing mass shootings.
There's also so far no word on if his parents could potentially be charged for allegedly failing to secure all those weapons.
Dude, that was my first thought. I'm like, dude, a 13-year-old no way has a gun arsenal. Like, it's literally borderline impossible. Not only is he 13, he doesn't have his own house, he doesn't pay his own bills, he definitely doesn't have money for over 23 guns. They said a lot of them are 3D printed, which makes sense, but in my opinion, it's a lot to blame on the parents mostly.
We have a witness now who's joining us by phone. His name is Justin Hickens. He apparently was at the scene of the shooting. Justin, what did you see? What did you hear?
I was about 20 yards away on Charlie's left.
I had gotten there probably just a few minutes before noon. There was thousands of people there. Unfortunately, there was no metal detectors. There was security by Charlie, but, anybody could have shown up with whatever, unfortunately. And I happened to kind of maneuver my way down close on the side. And the first interaction probably took about 10 minutes. It was a religious-related exchange. And then there was someone who stepped up, ironically, coincidentally, who asked a question about mass shootings. And about 60 to 90 seconds in, we heard a big loud shot. I saw a bunch of blood come out of Charlie. I saw his body kind of kick back and go limp, and everybody dropped to the ground. And luckily, there were no other bullets sprayed into the crowd because nobody was really able to go anywhere. It was just like a big, open pavilion, amphitheater, outdoor venue.
You're still sitting like that. Oh.
What?
Who?
Is that out? Wait, what happened? Charlie wait a minute, is this true?
Harvey and Charles, I found.
No. What happened?
There he is, right there.
Wait a minute. What is that him speaking?
And he just got
Charlie Kirk?
Watch this. I mean, does this look like he gets shot?
Wait. Yes, it does.
Okay, come on.
Did Charlie Kirk get shot?
Start writing the story.
Mark's writing. Hey, Jamie, one paragraph up.
Wait, is it?
Where is this?
Where
was it?
Utah.
Call the university right now. Can you call the police department?
Police.
Find out what police. Kurumi, and all you guys, find out what police department handles this area.
He always has security right there, sitting next to Utah. What?
Was this in Utah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's writing?
Jamie, who's writing?
Mark's writing.
It's definitely upper body.
Dude, TMZ is too funny. TMZ knows every single news before it even happens. Someone could be about to get shot and it's already on TMZ. Like, they're not even dead yet. It's just on TMZ. It's crazy. And now we're gonna see a video of this ex-police officer, I think it is, talking about how some dude got shot in his neck and he survived.
As a doctor of 25 years, I admit there are times patients survive unsurvivable injuries. Take this case, 27-year-old, victim of an AK-47 injury at a fairly short distance, and it ended up sitting right between the carotid artery and jugular vein. But it didn't injure any vascular structures. It didn't injure the esophagus or trachea or the spine, nothing. Basically took an injury to the mandible, did have a fracture of the jaw, and ricocheted and just ended up in such a special, specific, particular part without causing major injury. Given its proximity to the arteries, it was removed. But how in the world do you explain how this should have been a terrible thing? This should have been an awful outcome, and patient survives and has no major injuries. Everything was able to be treated. How do you explain this?
I'm dead. I said an ex-police officer. Dude was a doctor.
Once you see this, there's no going back. This is YouTuber named Boots Made for Crushing, who created a YouTube channel of him stomping on things and watching them break. This wasn't your so-called normal crushing video. This was something that genuinely he had a fetish for. So much, in fact, that he started a second channel to do even more crushing, infamously known as Boots666. On this new channel, he would create videos and post them of him stomping animals to death. This next part is extremely controversial because he was never banned. People started reaching out to YouTube to get this guy's channel taken down, and the only thing YouTube did was issue a strike, and then 4 months later he was able to post again. The next uploads that came after this were him crushing anything from frogs to large insects to snails. YouTube has never came out and publicly said anything about this guy's channel, but his videos are up to this day. People speculate the reason he was never taken down is because he was posting these videos as unlisted. If you're unfamiliar with how unlisted videos work, basically the only way you're able to actually view the video is if you were given the link itself. So he would use his Tumblr platform to post the video so people could directly access it. What are your thoughts on this? And make sure to like and follow for more true crime stories tomorrow. A 32-year-old United States Army soldier was stationed in Hawaii for training. This was his first time ever being in Hawaii, and so on his first day off, he planned to do some sightseeing. After doing some research, he settled on the Hawaii Volcano National Park that's home to one of the world's most active volcanoes, the Kilauea, that has been erupting consistently almost every year since 1983. On the evening of Wednesday, May 1st, he hopped in his rental car and he made his way out to the park. When he got there, he was pleasantly surprised to see that it was not crowded in the least, most likely because he was there midweek. And so he paid his entrance fee, and then he started walking up a trail that would bring him up to this overlook that overlooked the caldera. The caldera of a volcano is the actual crater, the inside of the volcano where the actual lava comes out of. At the time John was at the park, the volcano was not actively erupting, and so there was no pool of lava inside of the caldera. Now, he was up against a safety railing that prevented people from getting closer, but he figured if he could just get right to the edge of this crater and he could actually look down inside, he might be able to see all the way to the base of the caldera. And so he looked around and noticed there were no other tourists up there with him, and he stepped over the safety railing and walked right to the edge of this crater overlooking this caldera. And so he got his phone out and he started taking some pictures, and then all of a sudden the ground underneath him began to shift. And it shifted so quickly and so suddenly that threw him onto his back. And as he's laying on his back, scrambling to get back up again, the ground underneath him just completely collapses, sending him careening down 300 feet into the scalding hot caldera. And immediately first responders were on scene, but they were facing the same issue that John was, which is the steam was so intense inside of this volcano that you can't really see down into it. And so they had rescuers walking along the rim of the volcano, and they had helicopters in the air, but it really wasn't doing any good. And in the back of all rescuers' minds, they knew that realistically, there's just no way John could have survived this. I mean, you can't survive a 300-foot fall, but even if you did, you couldn't survive being at the surface of the caldera that's over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. 2 hours into their search, when it was totally dark outside and hope was just about gone at this point, somebody spotted John on a little ledge jutting out 70 feet down from that cliff he was standing on. When he fell, when the ground dissolved underneath him, he managed to land on this tiny little ledge. But he was so badly injured he couldn't climb back up again. However, rescuers were able to rappel down to him, put him in a harness, get him back up, and he was able to make a full recovery.
So this guy is about to make millions of dollars, not by robbing a bank, but by stealing pancake syrup. Now, the guy's name is Richard, and Richard's about 33 when this story starts, living in Canada, and he's the kind of guy who's just a shady dude. Bro sells maple syrup on the black market. I didn't even know there was a black market for that, but apparently there is one, and Richard sells it on the black market to distributors, and eventually he gets busted and he's forced to pay a $1.8 million fine, and they end up seizing his house because of it. Because apparently Canadians take their maple syrup super seriously. Anyway, this pisses Richard off, and he's all salty about getting busted for years. And he starts wanting revenge on the organization that got him busted, the Federation of Quebec Maple Syrup Producers, which is a government-sanctioned entity that regulates the production of syrup. Why does that exist? And so Richard comes up with a plan to rip them off and make himself very rich in the process. He's gonna steal a bunch of maple syrup from them, like millions of dollars worth. And so fast forward to 2011, and Richard is still trying to carry out this plan. And he partners up with this guy, Avik. And so together, Richard and Avik rent out a part of a warehouse, and they open up a small business there. Because in another part of this warehouse, next to their business, are a bunch of maple syrup reserves where they keep thousands of barrels of syrup. And the place kind of looks like this. There's just a bunch of white barrels in a warehouse. And so Richard and Avik's plan is to have Avik steal thousands of these barrels of reserve maple syrup, and then Richard will buy the barrels from Avik and resell them to distributors. And if you're like, Ray, why are they stealing maple syrup? That's just stupid. Just like steal money or something. I know, but keep in mind, maple syrup is actually worth a lot of money. During this time in 2011, a barrel of syrup is worth about 12 times more than a barrel of crude oil. So this has value. Anyway, so they're all ready for this heist. And I guess one day, once the warehouse is closed for the day, they enter the area where they keep the maple syrup reserves. And this is a whole operation. Like, they use forklifts and they load a bunch of barrels of syrup onto a trailer, and then they haul the load out to a remote shack and they siphon all the syrup out of those barrels and into new barrels. Then they fill the old barrels up with water and they put them back in the warehouse so that it looks like nothing was ever stolen, as long as, no one opens up one of the barrels. And they don't do all this in one night. They do like a few barrels at a time here and there over a long period of time so that the heist isn't so obvious. However, the problem is this process is very slow and it takes a lot of time and effort. And so Richard comes up with a slightly better plan. And they start doing the siphoning at the actual warehouse, and instead of using new barrels, they just use a big tanker truck. And then they fill the barrels up with water after they empty them, but later they get lazy and they don't replace the syrup with water at all. They don't fill the barrels up with anything, they just leave them empty. And that will become an issue later. And so anyway, they keep doing this over and over and over again. And by 2012, they've stolen 9,500 barrels of maple syrup from this place, which is worth more than 18 million Canadian dollars, which at the time was worth about 18 million US dollars. So what do they do with all this syrup? Well, they haul it over to a different province and they divide it up and they sell it to syrup distributors. I guess syrup distributors are like, cheap syrup. All right. And as absurd as this sounds, Richard and Avik's operation is so smooth that they just keep getting away with it. Until... So thus far, I've only talked about Richard and Avik. But it's not just these two guys. There are actually like 25 people involved in this scheme, including some warehouse workers, warehouse security guard, and some other people who help sell it on the black market, people like that. But let's just focus on Richard and Avik because they're the most guilty. Now, at some point in 2012, it's time for the maple syrup reserve to get an inspection. It's the inspection they do every year. It's basically like an audit of their inventory. And Richard knows this audit is coming, and he's like, oh shit, they're gonna check the barrels and they're gonna know the syrup is missing. And they have to scramble and like clean up any evidence in the warehouse, and they stack all the barrels back exactly the way they were stacked before. And Avik, he's like hitting up some of their co-conspirators, and he's like threatening them, saying if they talk to police, he's gonna shoot them in the head over fucking pancake syrup. Anyway, so inspection day comes, and the inspector shows up to the warehouse, and he starts the audit. And he's looking around the place, and everything looks normal to him, and he starts climbing on top of a stack of the barrels to get a better look. And because these things weigh like 600 pounds each, they're obviously not gonna fall over. Except that when the inspector walks on top of one of them, suddenly, boom, a barrel nearly falls over, and he has to catch himself. And he's like, what the f***? And he gets down and he knocks on the barrel and it sounds hollow. And so he opens it and he looks inside and he sees that it's completely empty. But he doesn't immediately assume it's theft, like that would be ridiculous. He's probably like, oh, they forgot to fill that barrel or whatever. But then he opens another one. And then he opens another one, and they're all empty. Then he finds a bunch of them had rusted, and he opens those up and he sees that they had rusted because they had been filled with water. And he's like, oh, I think someone's stealing your syrup. And so he calls the Federation of Quebec Maple Syrup Producers and he tells them what he found. And they're like, empty barrels? And they come and they do an emergency count of the whole place, and they find that 9,500 barrels are missing, which is like 12.5% of their entire reserve. And this is such a big deal that they bring in the Canadian police, who I assume are on horseback because, they're probably not, but I just like to imagine that. So anyway, the Canadian police, they show up and they search the whole facility. But they don't really find much. And they don't have a lot to work with because the place doesn't have security cameras, because who the hell would steal syrup? I guess Richard and Avik would, that's who. Now, during the police's investigation, they start thinking, this might have been an inside job. So they start looking at people who would have had access to the property, aka Richard. And so they go and they question him. And he's like, I don't know anything about that, eh? But he's not the only person police question. They bring in everyone connected to the warehouse. Employees, owners, contractors, along with other people who are just affiliated with the maple syrup black market. Which again, I can't believe there's an actual black market for fucking maple syrup. Anyway, over the next several months, police spend a lot of time tracking down all the stolen syrup that was sold to other people, and they find a bunch of it, but, they can't recover all of it because it's food. Distributors sold it to people, and, people ate it. But eventually, they find the source as Richard. And so, bam, they arrest him. Here's his mugshot. Also, bam, they arrest Avik. Here's his mugshot. And, it's not just these two. They arrest the other 25 other people involved in this scheme, and a bunch of them get sentenced to prison. And Avik actually gets 5 years in prison, while Richard, he gets 8 years.
Most disturbing videos in the world, episode 6. This picture contains a list of disturbing videos from the least scary to the most. This will be my scariest series ever. Welcome to tier 7 because we skipped a couple of them. And honestly today, we're gonna skip directly to tier 10. The first video is titled Funky Town. This video single-handedly could be the worst video the internet has ever had. Now obviously I can't show the video here, but I can tell you everything you need to know about it. And please remember, don't look this up. Trust me. It shows a man, getting executed, in which they remove the man's face all while he's still alive. And lots of other stuff start happening. And in the background of the video, the song Funky Town starts playing. You know this song? Yeah, that one. Make sure to like and follow because I start my brand new series tomorrow.
So Young Thug had a problem. His jail calls were released where he talking smack about everybody, and a recording of him was released where he's very friendly with police. Now, Young Thug goes on an interview, clears some things up. First of all, jail calls where he talking smack about everybody. He said, look, he was down bad, he was in jail, he thought he was never getting out, he was just letting out steam, mad at the whole world. He said, second thing second, recording of him talking to the polices. He said he was trying to be slick, he was trying to throw them off, and he may have been overly friendly because he was trying to flirt with a specific officer. Now there's one more thing that Young Thug clears up, and that's his relationship with Gunna, why he's so upset at him. And boy, is this something, because according to Young Thug, during the YSL RICO trial, Gunna was the first person to take a plea deal going against their collective plan. Okay, listen closely. The feds wanted Young Thug, plain and simple. They brought in a bunch of folks from YSL and said, look, everybody just tell us YSL is a gang, not really a record label. Y'all all walk out of here. We just want him. Now, why the feds were doing this? Because RICO charges are notoriously very, very difficult to prove. Because it's simple. All the YSL members have to do is look at each other and say, no, YSL is just a record label. What are the feds gonna do? Nothing. So the lawyers look at each other and say, everybody keep it solid. YSL record label, YSL record label, YSL record label. Everybody say, yeah, Gunna said. And well, uh-oh, here's where things start to get wicked, because the feds have some tactics of their own. They said, look, nobody gotta say anything, but y'all are all gonna sit in jail until we figure this whole thing out. That could be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, we don't know, count them up. Gunna said 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, oh, I'm gone. And that's when Gunna decided to go against the plan. Gunna takes the plea, says YSL's the gang. All the lawyers begin to scramble, because now they gotta change their story. They gotta now say, well, some people may believe it's a gang, some people may not. Now they gotta start looking out for their own clients. Now they gotta start saying, just take the plea deal, take the plea deal. Gunna already said it's a gang, you might as well take the plea deal. 0 years. That's why Young Thug told his brother, you might as well take it. Gunna already opened the can of worms. Now, all that being said, RICO charges are still very, very difficult to prove. So Young Thug still had a chance to not go to jail. As you guys have seen, he beat the case and he didn't go to jail. But let's just say his chances were much, much, much more difficult after everyone came out and said YSL is a gang.
Yeah, I remember I talked about that in a video I made. I don't remember which video specifically. I think it's a video that's coming out tomorrow, so stay tuned for Friday's video, because today's Thursday. Today's 9/11. It's a sad day for America. Today's mourning day, so. But yeah, Young Thug and Gunna, apparently they're like two brothers in the industry that's pretty much beefing right now because one told, and apparently something leaked that the other one told. It's crazy, bro. Some rap game stuff, but
history has just been made today in Africa. After 14 years of construction and $5 billion, the continent's largest hydropower dam has finally had its grand opening in Ethiopia. Standing at 145 meters high and a massive 2 kilometers in length across the Blue Nile, it is now among the top 20 largest dams of its kind in the world. It has been described as a leap into the future because now it's open, it will double Ethiopia's current energy production capacity. That's enough to power around 5 million homes simultaneously. This is a literal game changer for the country because as things stand, around 45% of Ethiopia's 130 million people lack electricity. But after today, many homes which have never experienced what it's like to have electricity will do so for the very first time. Just imagine that. But also, this will now open up industrial and manufacturing opportunities as well. And not just for Ethiopia. With surplus power, they can even export this electricity to neighboring countries in East Africa as well. But what do you guys think? Is this dam a W or L?
Morbid Facts, Part 658. On July 14, 2017, Chester Bennington appeared in a carpool karaoke episode with comedian Ken Jeong. In the video, Chester looks joyful and full of life, laughing, cracking jokes, and singing along to Linkin Park hits as well as popular songs like Hey Ya. The footage offers a bittersweet glimpse of a man who appeared to be genuinely happy just 6 days before he tragically took his own life. In 1993, a Mexican zoo official was arrested in Miami after trying to illegally purchase a live gorilla, only to discover the animal was actually an undercover agent in a gorilla suit. The operation was part of a federal wildlife trafficking bust and led to one of the most ridiculous arrests in American history. As a child in the Philippines, boxing legend Manny Pacquiao ran away from home after witnessing a horrifying act. His father, drunken and enraged, killed and ate the family's pet dog. Devastated, Pacquiao fled and began living on the streets, sleeping in a cardboard box and surviving by selling donuts and scraps. The trauma of watching that happen to his beloved pet pushed him into a life of brutal survival at just 12 years old, an early glimpse of the hardship and violence that would define his relentless drive in the ring.
A brazen smash and grab heist caught on surveillance video. This happened at a jewelry store in San Jose, California. Video shows a car backing through the front doors. Moments later, more than a dozen masked robbers swarmed the store, breaking open display cases. A shirtless man, the store owner, was knocked to the ground. He suffered a stroke and was cut by broken glass. According to people who know him, he is expected to be okay. Police say no arrests have been made.
That has got to be one of the most lethal clips I've ever seen. You see how that guy just pushed him? I was like, yo. There was so many men that came out of that car. They probably had like a bus load of people. There's no way that amount of people fit in a car. It was so bad, it gave bro a brain attack.
Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. And right now, you can save £50 per person. That's £200 off for a family of 4. We've got millions of free child place holidays available, with 22 kilograms of baggage included. But now, with Jet2 holidays, package holidays you can trust, Patronatal protected.
It was crazy that popped up because I was just talking to one of my friends literally today about how like it feels like everyone forgot that Trump almost got assassinated.
What is the tattoo effect? Have you ever heard the term tattoo baddie? Well, the tattoo effect is the idea that if you take a normal person and give them a tattoo, they instantly become more attractive. But to put that to the test, let's see if it's true for some already attractive movie stars.
What do you guys think about the tattoo effect? If you take someone normal, right, like me, for example, I have literally 0 tattoos. If I got hella tatted, would I look 10 times more attractive? That question is only for females. And for the dudes, if you see a girl that's hella tatted, do you find her more attractive? Let me know your thoughts about that in the comments. I'm actually kind of genuinely curious. The first thought that came to my head is like, what put bro in that predicament?
He turned plastic waste into gasoline, went missing for weeks, and now we finally know what really happened to him. His name is Julian Brown, and he's been going viral with his experiments turning plastic junk into usable gasoline for vehicles, which he calls plastiline. Yet another revolutionary innovator of efficient and easily accessible energy disappeared, and everyone was worried for his life. Ever since he posted this cryptic video to his socials saying that he's under attack and that he's getting hunted down by some sort of shadow agents. He went ghost for weeks, and everyone thought they got to him, which kind of makes sense. Big Oil definitely hates this guy. As you may or may not know, anyone who threatens the dominance of oil and gas companies tends to go missing. It's happened countless times in the last century whenever an inventor comes out with technology that can create energy in unconventional ways. Just like Stanley Meyer, who back in the 80s created a car engine that ran on just water, which he and several scientists validated in many tests, who mysteriously passed away from a sudden brain aneurysm as he was signing a deal for his invention in 1998. Technology that would have provided cheap and easily accessible energy to the world. And that's kinda what Julian Brown has been working on, and he's been getting a lot of attention on social media for it, building his own makeshift gas station, showing and documenting his entire process of turning plastic junk into fuel. Fuel that can power cars, potentially even jet fuel, providing energy made from literal garbage, calling it a microwave pyrolysis reactor, basically a high-tech oven that melts plastic using a very specific process that turns it into a flammable liquid that can be used as gasoline. And he proves the plastiline gas is real by testing it on many engines in his videos, all while working in a remote location somewhere in Alabama for added safety, and turns out he really needed it. Dealing with crushing heat and relentless mosquitoes, which got so bad he had to create his own sunscreen using all natural ingredients with no carcinogenic chemicals that was also a mosquito repellent. Julian Brown really is the real deal. He was even recognized by Forbes magazine in May, and his company NatureJab was highlighted for his many revolutionary achievements, including his microwave pyrolysis reactor, his plastic gasoline machine, directly recognized by Forbes. Oh, and it's also solar powered. His machine was even tested by ASAP Labs in Washington, which confirmed it burned cleaner than regular diesel. Ahead of creating his company, Brown was selected as a 776 Climate Fellow, a 2-year program that recognizes young people for thinking of innovative ways to tackle climate change, which, whether you believe is real or not, is still an impressive accolade of his. Also receiving a $100,000 grant from Alexis Ohanian, co-founder of Reddit, and tens of thousands of dollars in additional support from a GoFundMe. Not to mention he's been featured on the news as well. To put it simply, everything this guy claims he's doing for real. There's no doubt about that. Well, in a then deleted, now reposted video, Julian appears extremely uncomfortable, claiming that he's being watched and is under attack. That he's seen many black helicopters watching him from the sky, with spotlights shining down and tracking his every move. Helicopters that circled him over 5 times and came so low that he could feel the wind of the blades on his body. He's been saying that something big is about to happen, and even admits that he may not live for much longer, which he's actually mentioned in many other previous videos as well. That he's being watched and is receiving literal threats from unknown sources. That the EPA and the IRS are specifically targeting him, and that all it'll take for them is to deem his invention a national security threat and they can legally shut it down. Despite these threats, he promises he will never back down from his ultimate mission, to bring plastiline to the world. Well, after this video posted in the beginning of July 2025, he goes dark and doesn't post for weeks on one end, which kinda made the internet panic. Speculation started circulating online that he's gone missing and that something bad probably happened to him. As we know, has happened time and time again with disruptive inventors of his nature. Well, a week or so later, his mom came out and told the Daily Mail that she can confirm Julian is safe, but is currently in hiding, and in the best interest of his security, she can't reveal any more information. Everyone assumed the worst, that the oil and gas energy mafia got to him and stopped him from spreading his plastiline invention to society. But then, about 3 weeks after his disturbing message, he finally comes out and tells the world he's back and what's really been happening. So apparently his iCloud was hacked by some anonymous hackers who were able to remotely monitor everything on his phone, and then were able to hack into his Instagram account, posting his driver's license online and exposing his address to the world. No matter how many times he changed his password and updated his 2FA, the hackers would always find a way back into his account. Which tells us these definitely weren't some regular 2-bit hacker trolls just messing around. These guys were professionals. They knew what they were doing and were very experienced. So Julian went dark as he got support from Meta to fully get his account back, as some of us know can take a really long time. Also saying that Meta actually tracked down exactly who hacked him, which we'll hopefully figure out very soon. And I can't imagine any regular person who would be against someone from releasing cheap and accessible gasoline to the world, except for anyone involved in the oil and gas industry themselves, as something like this doesn't look good for their wallets, who have systematically suppressed alternative energy technology for decades, using patents, lawsuits, and convenient accidents to maintain their empires and cover up inventions that threaten them, which suggests is exactly who went and is possibly still going after Julian Brown. He's been showing the progress he's making on his machine, still hard at work on it, and as of now has been posting ever since. Everyone keep an eye on this guy and protect him at all costs.
Bizarre videos that they tried to delete from the internet.
Ozzy Osbourne didn't just survive decades of partying, he was genetically built for it. For decades, people were saying he's gonna drop dead at any moment from all the drugs. But turns out his ability to survive all those substances, it was written in his DNA. Ozzy had a never-before-seen mutation in the ADH4 gene. This mutation made him make much more of the enzyme that chews up and breaks down alcohol, meaning he could clear alcohol out of his system much faster than most people. That means he'd lose his buzz even more quickly and have to keep drinking and drinking more to maintain his buzz. And this means his body also could metabolize that alcohol quicker, so it didn't do as much damage. The second mutation is the ARRB2 gene. This controls how the brain feels dopamine drugs, like methamphetamine. Ozzy's mutation likely made the meth feel more stimulating, yet at the same point less damaging to his nervous system long term. This gene also affects the opioid system, which brings us to our third mutation, the OPRD1 gene. This controls how your brain responds to opioids. And again, Ozzy had a very rare version of this. Now we can't say for sure if it made him more or less responsive to opioid drugs, but based on how long he used opioids, in my expert opinion, I think it made him less sensitive, which means he needed more opioids to feel something due to his higher drug tolerance, and also had fewer withdrawals when he stopped using. So yeah, Ozzy was literally born to survive that rock star life.
My thoughts is like, what if he did it so much it literally caused the mutation? Like he wasn't born with it, but since he did it so much, his body just kind of mutated to like withstand that much drugs, if that makes sense. Let me know what you guys think about that.
Have you ever heard about the Lady of Fatima and her prophecy about the end of the world? In 1917, 3 children experienced a miracle in Fatima, Portugal. According to the children, the Virgin Mary came down and showed them a vision of hell. That became known as the first secret of the Lady of Fatima. The next time the children saw the Lady of Fatima, she gave them a message that World War I would be ending soon. But she warned that a worse war was coming. She specified that if Russia didn't change their ways, that it was going to lead to a lot of destruction on the planet. A year after this, World War I did end. This became known as the second secret of Fatima. She told the children that she would be back on October 13th, 1917 to reveal the biggest secret of all. On that day, 30,000 people showed up to witness a miracle, and the Lady of Fatima revealed to the children the darkest secret of all. She told the children that they were not to reveal the secret to anyone until 1960, where it should go directly to the public, not to the Pope. One of the children, Lucia, grew up to be a nun and was devoted to keeping the secret of Fatima until it was time for the public to know. In 1941, Sister Lucia became ill, and a bishop forced her to write down the secret to give directly to the Pope so that the secret would not die with her. Although Lucia recovered, when the Pope saw the secret, he declared that it will never make it to the public and banned anyone from revealing it. At the time, Malachi Martin, a priest and exorcist, was working in the Vatican. He read the third secret, but under oath could never reveal it to the public. By the 1990s, Malachi Martin started to reveal the secrets of the Vatican. He claimed that the breath of Satan had taken over the Pope and the Vatican, and started to reveal it in his books. Although he revealed many secrets, he was under oath to never reveal the secret of the Lady of Fatima. Near the end of his life, he did several radio interviews on Coast to Coast with Art Bell. He said he would not reveal the secret, but that if someone knew the secret, he would confirm or deny whether they were right. One woman said that she was told by a Jesuit priest that when Pope John Paul read the secret and it said that the last pope would be under Satan's control, that he fainted because he thought it was him. Malachi confirmed that this was true. Another person said that it would be about a false religion and the Antichrist. Malachi confirmed that this was true. You know I'm going to bring it back to Behold a Pale Horse. He claims that U.S. intelligence agencies believed that this event might have been alien manipulation, so they utilized their Vatican moles to get the secret. In the next part, we're going to dig deeper into the third secret, how it lines up with the Nostradamus prophecies, the Book of Revelations, and Malachi Martin's strange death.
I literally do not understand how this is not mainstream household information. Like, every time I review this information, like, my mind is just blown over and over again. Just watch.
Here's another interesting scientific fact. The heart is an electrical organ, producing by far the strongest source of rhythmic bioelectricity. This energy goes to every cell in your body. Your heart produces enough electrical energy to create a magnetic field surrounding your body in 360 degrees, extending beyond the skin out into space, measurable about 3 feet outside your body.
So the moral of the story is our heart radiates out. Like, this is why our culture constantly, naturally, intuitively refers to having good vibes and bad vibes. We already can feel this sixth sense. Like, literally, electromagnetically, all our hearts are talking to one another. We are immersed in a 360 spherical bubble in each other's heart bubbles all the time. So it matters whether you're in a negative or a positive state of being, because this literally creates your interaction with reality, with people, with events. This is work done by HeartMath. They are a nonprofit that has been doing this since 1991 for 30 years. It is time we start really giving energy to this, giving understanding to this, and like implementing this into our world. We need it now more than ever.
We all need a friend like 21 Savage. A person who could tell you the truth even though it might be hard to hear sometimes. You see, 21 Savage's friend Young Thug has a problem. See, Young Thug was in jail for something called a RICO charge, and while he was in jail for that RICO charge, he made a bunch of phone calls to his friends, 21 Savage, a bunch of people. Those phone calls were recently released anonymously. Well, what does that have to do with 21 Savage being a good friend? Well, again, one of the phone calls Young Thug made in jail was to 21 Savage. He calls him, he says, "What's good, my boy?" 21 said, "What's good, what's good, what's good?" Young Thug said, "Look, 21, I want to release a song about Gunna, because he a snitch. And I want you to be on it, 21. See, at this point, Gunna is accused of being a snitch, but we'll get to the snitch allegations in a moment. But first, 21 Savage's response to Young Thug is, "Hey, if you want me on it, then I got you. But are you sure this is something you want to do?" Young Thug said, "Boy, ain't you hear me? I said he a tattletale. Yes, I do." 21 Savage said, "Well, if I can be honest, I don't think Gunna did what he did to hurt you. You see, what Gunna did was he took something called an Alfred plea. Basically, the police wanted Young Thug in jail. They needed to prove that Young Thug's record label was a criminal organization. How do you prove that? By getting people to say Young Thug's group is a criminal organization. They pull in Gunna. They say, if you say Young Thug's group is a criminal organization, you get 0 jail time. Gunna's lawyer said, boy, you better tell him it's... Gunna said, I got you. Young Thug's group is a criminal organization. Now, it's important to note that multiple people took this deal and this furthered the case against Young Thug. Now, whether you think that's snitching or not, that's up to you. But regardless, 21 Savage's response to Young Thug was, I don't think it was personal. Young Thug's response is, well, what would you do if you were in Gunna's situation, 21? 21 Savage says, well, Gunna and I are respectfully different people. I'm 21, real street baby. But I digress. Ain't you tell your brother to take the same deal? I said, because Young Thug absolutely told his brother to take the same deal as Gunna. I just didn't think 21 Savage would use it to further his argument. You see, Young Thug told his brother to take the same deal because everyone else took the deal. Young Thug's case is already difficult, so he tells his brother, you might as well take the deal and get 0 years. So 21 Savage's point is basically you understood the deal when your brother took it, but now you don't understand when Gunna took it. Explain. But on the phone, listen closely, with 21 Savage, Young Thug says, I did not tell my brother to take that deal. 21 says, well, your brother is telling everyone in the streets that you did. Young Thug says, Gunna broke my heart. Is that what you want to hear me say? Everything we've been through, when I saw Gunna stand up there and say YSL is a criminal organization, it broke my heart. 21 Savage says, I understand, I got your back. Just know I do disagree with you at some points. You are technically still Gunna's boss, so if you're really upset with him, maybe you could squeeze him for more money, do things through the business side, but if you want to release an album dissing him, just know I got you. And they both end the call saying, I love you. So it goes to show that you can disagree with your friends, you can challenge your friends.
Yeah, that was a rapper named Young Thug. Apparently he went to prison for like around 2 years or something like that because he was fighting a RICO charge. He was about to face life in prison, but apparently one of his main persons or his best friend apparently snitched and said that his record label, known as YSL, is a street gang and a criminal organization.
Please state after each statement whether or not you agree or acknowledge that statements are true, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I became affiliated with YSL around 2016. Is that true as it pertains to you, Mr. Kitchens?
Yes, ma'am.
YSL is a music label and a gang, and you have personal knowledge that members or associates of YSL have committed crimes in furtherance of the gang.
Yes, ma'am.
And apparently that broke his heart. But what's crazy is a lot of leaked things came out about Young Thug himself saying that he also snitched. So I don't know, there's a lot going on right now.
Now Young Thug is doubling down saying he didn't snitch and y'all need to stop trying to compare him with Gunna. Bruh, be honest, you did tell. It is what it is, gang.
I can tell you, you'll see those files that I shared with you. They did find stuff. There was an incident in October of 1982 over an ICBM base where UFOs popped up, was observed over this base where the missiles are pointed at us, United States. These UFOs perform incredible maneuvers. They split apart, they fuse back together, they'd appear and disappear. And right at the end of this 4-hour period, the launch control codes for the ICBMs lit up. Something entered the correct codes. The missiles were fired up and ready to launch, and they could not shut it down. The Russian officers were panicking. The UFOs they disappeared. The launch control system goes back to normal. Colonel Sokolov and his team came in, took the thing apart, could not figure out what it was. It wasn't a power surge or EMPs or some of the baloney excuses that our country has given for similar events involving our nuclear missiles. They thought it was a message from wherever the UFOs were from. And that's a chilling thing. I mean, we were a couple of seconds away from World War III starting, and the UFOs were responsible for it.
Apple has just dropped the highly anticipated iPhone 17. But there's one feature that's got a lot of people pissed. For starters, this year you'll have the largest iPhone lineup ever to choose from with the iPhone 17, 17 Pro, and the all-new iPhone Air. Now this thing sits at only 5.6 millimeters thick, and it's encased in, you guessed it, titanium. In fact, they say this structure they've created has made it the most durable and strongest iPhone ever. Jerry rig everything, you know what to do. They claim it's unlike anything you've ever held in your hand before. It has a 120Hz display, it has the A19 Pro chip, giving it the fastest CPU of any iPhone. Apple says that it has
MacBook Pro levels of compute in an iPhone.
But the super slim design doesn't come without its sacrifices. It'll only have one camera, one speaker, it's eSIM only worldwide, and the battery life will take a hit. In fact, in their presentation, they simply said it's got all-day battery life without specifying hours. Immediate red flag. And then straight after that, they went on to speak about this new battery pack that they've made, and that when used together with the iPhone Air's battery, it'll give you 40 hours of video playback. But it would kind of defeat the purpose of having a super slim phone. However, what does have nearly 40 hours of video playback is the iPhone 17 Pro. And yes, this year it actually looks different. Kinda. Now, the new battery they put in this thing is admittedly a beast. The largest ever, in fact, with a massive 39 hours of video playback. They've ditched the titanium already, and they've now gone back to aluminium, but this time the whole thing is now essentially this unibody shell with a cutout on the back that's made from this ceramic shield. And the reason they've gone for this extended camera bump, apart from just wanting it to look different, is the upgraded camera. For the first time, all three rear cameras are now 48 megapixel. They'll have 0.5 to 8 times zoom for video and 40 times zoom for pictures. Oh, also, all of the new 17 models will have this brand new front camera that Apple is calling center stage camera. Essentially what this is that they're using a square sensor for the first time, and this new shape gives more pixels and a wider field of view. Because of that, you now no longer need to turn your phone if you want to capture landscape. It'll use AI to auto zoom out for a wider shot. It'll be 18 megapixels and also super stabilized. But the one feature that people are pissed didn't arrive is reverse wireless charging. A lot of people expected this year to be able to charge their AirPods or even another phone with their phone. I would also people are pissed that the Pro model only comes in 3 colors, and one of them is not black. These are all of the prices for the 3 models, and let me know what you guys think. Did Tim cook, or is Tim...
What do you guys think about the iPhone 17? I'm kind of due for an update, so maybe I get the 17 or the 18, but I don't know, dude. Pretty expensive phones. Let me know what you guys think about the iPhone 17.
So this famous comedian sort of helps catch a serial killer. Now the serial killer's name is Joe, and Joe is around 28 when this story starts, and he's a police officer living in California. And Joe is just a straight up villain. Like, all he wants to do is hurt people. And so one day in 1974, he starts doing just that. He starts breaking into people's homes, but he's really weird about it. Like, a normal burglar will get into a house and they'll look for money or valuables, but Joe instead looks for random things. Like, he steals from piggy banks, he'll steal class rings or engraved jewelry, stuff that would have sentimental value just to mess with people. And since he's a cop who's worked on lots of burglary cases, he knows how to do all this and not get caught. And so he does it for about 2 years, but then he runs into a problem. Like with a lot of these types of people, stealing random things loses its appeal after a while. It's just not thrilling enough for Joe anymore, and so he escalates things. He starts breaking into people's houses while they're home and SAing the women he encounters. And he does this over and over and over again. And so this goes on for about 3 more years. And when that stops being thrilling enough, he escalates things again. And he starts breaking into houses and murdering the people he encounters. And he does this over and over and over again. And 7 more years go by. And it's now 1986. And Joe's around 40 years old at this point. And he's no longer a cop, but he's still going out and breaking into people's houses and committing murder. In fact, over the last decade, he's broken into around 120 homes, he's essayed 51 women, and he's murdered 13 people. This guy is legitimately evil. But then, that same year, Joe suddenly just stops. Why does he stop? Well, it's speculated that he stops because this is 1986, the same year that law enforcement starts using DNA identification to solve crimes and track down criminals. And he's been leaving DNA all over these crime scenes. So now Joe knows if they match his DNA to the DNA at the crime scenes, he's screwed. So he stops and he moves on. He starts living a fairly normal life. And no one ever suspects that he ever broke into any houses or killed anyone. And 20 years pass, and it's now 2006. And that is when we meet this woman, Michelle. Michelle's about 36 during this time, and she writes for a true crime website called True Crime Diary. It's actually her website. And Michelle, she's been writing about all sorts of different true crime cases and stuff for years. But at some point, she becomes interested in this old, unsolved string of crimes from the 70s and 80s, where this mysterious guy went out and murdered and SA'd a lot of people in California. And she gets way into this case. She's writing stuff for her website. She's writing magazine articles for magazines. She keeps putting this case in the public eye, which is generating quite a bit of interest, which is therefore generating a lot of tips and information for police to follow up on. And this goes on for years. And Michelle's work is so compelling that she eventually gets a book deal out of all this. So now she's writing a book about this case, still not knowing that this former cop Joe is behind it all. And so she works hard on this book. She becomes obsessed with writing it, working on it every day, working on it so much that it's making her anxious and it's like stressing her out sometimes. But she is determined to get it done. She really wants to see this case get solved. And by 2016, when Michelle is 46 years old, she's pretty far along at this point, somewhere between halfway and 2/3 of the way finished. But then, that same year, the absolute worst thing happens to her. So Michelle's husband is actually this guy, Patton Oswalt. And Patton, he's a famous actor, comedian. He was the voice of Remy in Ratatouille. He's been on a lot of TV shows, Parks and Rec, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's been working a long time. You've definitely seen him and stuff. So one morning, Patton is at home, and he comes into the bedroom where Michelle is asleep, and he finds that she's not breathing because Michelle had unfortunately, suddenly passed away in her sleep. And so later, they have an autopsy done, and that autopsy reveals that she died from an undiagnosed heart condition combined with an accidental overdose of medication she was prescribed. It was extremely sudden and extremely tragic. And Patton is, of course, devastated by this, for a lot of reasons. Not only did he lose his best friend and partner, but he's a public figure. So he's sort of expected to get out there and talk about this experience publicly.
I'm not trying to say that this is meaningless, but it really does. Everything seems like the lights have been turned down 50% on everything since she's gone, you know?
Now, Patton also knows how much catching this killer meant to Michelle. He watched her work hard on her book all those years. And so he decides to take over this project and make sure her book gets finished and published. And so he gets to work, and he recruits an investigative journalist and also this researcher that Michelle had been working with. And he gets them to go over Michelle's manuscript and all of her notes and stuff, and together they're able to put together all her research and compile her work into the latter section of her book, and they actually end up finishing it. And in 2018, Michelle's book finally gets published. It's called I'll Be Gone in the Dark. And it immediately blows up and becomes #2 on the New York Times bestseller list. And again, her work keeps this decades-old unsolved case in the public eye. So now a lot more people are interested in figuring out who this killer is. Meanwhile, police have somewhat been continuing to investigate all those murders in California in the 70s and 80s. And they've got some old DNA evidence, but they haven't ever really been able to use it because it doesn't match anyone in any of their databases. But then they get an idea. They're gonna run it through this genealogy website. Like the ones where you submit a Q-tip sample and they tell you all about your family history. One of those. And so they submit this killer's DNA to one of these websites, and boom, they get a match. And that allows them to narrow it down to 1,000 possible people. So now they have to go through this long-ass family tree. But they eventually zero in on one guy. A guy who had never been a suspect before. Former police officer Joe. And Joe is like 72 years old at this point. He's old. And so police are like, who the fuck is this guy? But they look into his background and they realize he was living in the area when all those crimes happened. But they still need his DNA to match the DNA they found at all those crime scenes. And there's no way he's gonna voluntarily give that to them. And so I guess police just like sneak around his home and they get some of his discarded trash and they get some DNA samples from that. And so 32 years after Joe committed his last murder, bam, they arrest him. Here's his mugshot. And ultimately, Joe gets sentenced to life in prison. While in 2020, Michelle's book gets developed into an HBO docuseries called I'll Be Gone in the Dark.
I feel like that's just more proof that when you do a crime, you can never truly know if you got away with it or not, because 30 years down the line, they can still come back for you. Isn't that crazy?
Now, when you are together
Live
with
translation.
someone who speaks a different language, like exploring a market abroad, AirPods Pro will help you understand them in your preferred language. Using a new simple gesture, live translation begins. Translating Spanish, while ANC lowers the volume of the person speaking.
No
so
way.
it's easier to focus on the translation.
Example, please.
Hello, welcome. Today,
Nuts!
all the red carnations are 50% off. And
That's
it doesn't
cold.
just translate
That's
individual
cold.
words. The meaning of each phrase is translated for you. When you need to talk, just speak naturally.
I'd love to take some of these to my sister for her birthday. I'll buy 8, please.
Your iPhone
Oh
displays
my-
your words
yeah, that's
in their
cold.
language and can even read them out loud if needed.
That's cold.
Live translation
That's
is even
cold.
more useful when both people are wearing AirPods Pro.
That's cold.
I agree, yeah. Let's include the
Eu concordo, sim.
Oh my god, so you single dons can be doing international riz now. Long as you both got AirPods, you're sweet.
O cliente vai adorar ver isso.
The fact that AirPods can actually translate language is crazy. Like, you could literally be talking to someone in a complete different language and they can completely understand you. To me, that's like literally like next level technology. So hats off to Apple.
So if you didn't know, this woman's name is Brianna Williams, and what you just watched was her reaction to finding out that the police had discovered her sinister secret. So back in early November of 2019, Brianna contacts the police in order to report her 5-year-old daughter, Taylor Williams, missing, stating that she had seen her the night before, but in the morning she was gone. Taylor's disappearance sent shockwaves through the community, and people quickly began looking for her, but she was nowhere to be found. However, weeks into the investigation, doubts begin to surface as detectives realize Brianna's story just doesn't make sense. Then, all of a sudden, Taylor's remains are found 400 miles away from her house, with investigators ruling that her cause of death was starvation, meaning Brianna had unalived her. At this point, Brianna knows that the police had figured out what she had done, so she tries to unalive herself, but this fails and she gets arrested. In court, Brianna is found guilty of Taylor's death and is sentenced to a well-deserved life in prison. Brianna's story shows that you cannot escape justice and that karma will always catch up to you.
Guys, scientists think that they have actually just solved the entire mystery of the Bermuda Triangle, and the truth might actually be scarier than aliens. So for decades now, people have obviously thought that the Bermuda Triangle was a supernatural zone on the planet that just couldn't be explained. But this new study is saying that the truth is somehow worse. So an ocean scientist from the University of Southampton just recreated what might have happened to the USS Cyclops. If you don't know what that is, that was the ship that vanished with 309 people on board back in 1918. And he's saying that this is not aliens and it is not portals, it's waves, but not just any waves. Dude, they are calling these rogue waves. They're insane walls of water that reach over 100 feet tall, like a skyscraper coming at you at full speed. They're saying that these waves happen whenever multiple storm systems collide, and then the ocean basically creates a monster. In a bunch of different lab tests, they showed that these waves could actually lift an entire ship up at both ends and snap it in half in just minutes. They're saying that these waves are so insanely sudden and so massive that even even modern ships and planes might not survive them. These scientists are basically saying that the Bermuda Triangle might just be one of the most dangerous places on Earth where storms collide. All of the aliens and conspiracy theory stuff is obviously insane, but these scientists are actually thinking that this is the answer to the entire mystery. I want to know if you think the Bermuda Triangle conspiracies are real, or do you think this is the answer?
I'm not gonna lie, that makes a lot more sense. And it's weird to think about how big waves could get to the point where it could snap ships in half. Isn't that crazy?
Did you know that the shrimp you love is actually considered the cockroach of the sea? It's true. Much like their land-based cousins, shrimp are the professional cleaners of the ocean floor. Their diet consists of fish remains, decaying algae, marine waste, and even, on occasion, the flesh of the dead. In fact, when a decomposed body is discovered in the ocean, shrimp are often the first scavengers to emerge, a sobering yet vital role in the marine ecosystem. But this scavenging is not without purpose. Without the tireless work of the shrimp, the ocean floor would become a wasteland of decay. For many of us, this knowledge does little to change our habits. Perhaps it is a testament to their flavor that what we do not see does not affect the appetite. It serves as a reminder that every creature has a vital role in the delicate balance of life. Like and follow for more amazing facts from our natural world.
Yeah, man, for those who don't know, shrimps are actually bottom feeders. That means they literally eat anything that's not supposed to be eaten. But me personally, I love me some shrimp, so I don't know if I want to give it up just yet. But I know that they say they're not like the best thing to eat, but you know what I'm saying? It's probably healthier than a lot of alternatives like McDonald's.
Okay, so this is breaking right now. Apparently, moments ago, when the press was talking to President Donald Trump on the South Lawn as he was getting ready to board Marine One, one of the press folks asked him if he was going to attack the cartels in Venezuela, like inside of the country of Venezuela. And he responded, "You're going to find out." Check this out.
Are you considering attacking the cartels inside of Venezuela? You attack?
What are you going to find out? You're going to find out.
Oh, man. Oh man, things are heating up. Now, I don't know for sure if that means that is, yes, we're going to do that or not, or if he's just like, you know, you never reveal your cards when you're playing poker kind of thing, which I would assume that he's going to do that type of tactic because he doesn't want to reveal his whole hand so that everybody knows what he's going to do or what we're going to do. But definitely an interesting response. Didn't see that coming today. Didn't have that in my on my bingo card, so to speak. So I will definitely be paying attention, and as things develop, if anything new pops up, I will definitely keep you guys updated, because at this point I feel like there is something coming, and I'm not sure exactly what it looks like, but I'm sure we'll all find out together.
Guys, the FDA has now literally approved eye drops that correct the need for glasses in just 30 minutes. This is literally insane. The FDA has now approved a thing called Viz, which is a new once-a-day eye drop that can help people who struggle to see things up close. This is basically a thing that's called farsightedness, which is basically whenever things are really blurry to you whenever they're close up, but usually this comes with old age. They're saying that this is a new once-daily prescription drop that creates a pinhole effect by constricting your pupil, kind of like adjusting a camera lens. They're saying that these drops will help you see close up way more clearly without messing up your distant vision. They're saying that just one of these drops in your eyes can work incredibly fast in just 30 minutes, and it can last in your eye for up to 10 hours at a time. The clinical trials are showing no serious safety issues, and the side effects are usually just mild, like a bit of a headache or maybe a little bit of eye irritation. What's crazier is they're saying that these eye drops are supposed to be launching in the US soon with a full nationwide rollout by the end of this year. I give you these news roundups every day, so make sure you add me and come back to me tomorrow.
Wow, so for those who need glasses, like those who can't really read without glasses, hey, there's your solution right there. Me personally, I can't see far, like that far. Like I can see close, but I can't really see like in the distance.
For thousands of years, humans have noticed that if you take a pond with no fishes in them, eventually fishes will just appear without anybody putting them there. And literally for millennia, that's just where we thought fish came from. Ponds that just sat there long enough. Nonetheless, today we know that fishes don't just appear out of nowhere. So what makes empty ponds just have fishes disappear? One answer, ducks. More specifically, little duck feet. You see, when a duck lands in a pond that has fishes in them already, Sometimes they step on fish eggs. Those fish eggs will get stuck to their little duck feet and then transfer those fish eggs to another pond that didn't have fish already. This process is called transpermia. However, what researchers began to notice was the rarity of transpermia in general. I mean, yeah, it happens. Duck feet sometimes get fish eggs on them. However, ducks fly at 40 miles per hour. The odds of fish eggs sticking to their feet for their entire flight is relatively low. So researchers began studying ducks like they never had before. And what they found out was that these ducks weren't just getting duck eggs on their feet. They were swallowing the egg whole. Miraculously, the egg would stay alive long enough inside the duck to transpermia to another pond.
It's inexplicable. Like, it's nothing like I've ever felt. It just doesn't, you can't even comprehend. But I knew straight away it was acid. My t-shirt dissolved.
December of 2014, 30-year-old Andreas Christoforos was at home with his wife and young son when suddenly he heard a knock at his front door. Assuming it was just another friendly neighbor or perhaps a delivery man, he went to open it. But as soon as Andreas opened it, he only heard, "This is for you, mate," and was splashed in the face with battery acid. He says immediately he knew it was acid and ran through his house screaming for his wife to call 911 as he tried to find the kitchen where he would begin dousing his face with tap water. But as he ran to the kitchen, his t-shirt began melting off of his shoulders from where this acid was dripping onto it. And so finally his wife comes running down the steps wondering what is going on. And as she does, she has socks on. And when she steps in these areas where the acid has dripped off of Andreas onto the carpet, she recalls it disintegrating her socks off of her feet. Ultimately, he was rushed to the hospital where he was not expected to survive by doctors, but he fortunately has after more than 60 surgeries. However, he is still partially blind and forever scarred. The attacker, a painter and decorator named David Phillips, was later caught and confessed to police that he had driven 300 miles to find a man who he planned to get revenge on for SAing a member of his own family. But very quickly it was discovered that David Phillips had found the wrong house and splashed the wrong man. Phillips was convicted but has since been released from prison after his sentence was cut in half and is now back in society. Andreas says in regards to the pain of that acid attack, he would have rather been shot.
Could you imagine getting splashed with acid? I wonder how that feels. Like, honestly, I don't wonder how that feels because, like, I feel like it would be horrible. Like, I don't even want to process how that feels, but you know what I'm saying? I'm praying for that dude.
Travel Squad.
Yeah, Britney Spears, dude, she's been just going through the media like almost her whole life. There's always something new with Britney Spears, like every 4 to 5 years, you know what I'm saying? And I wonder who leaked that video of her, because that is insane.
A parasitic infection called Chagas disease has made its way to the United States and is now considered to be hypoendemic according to experts at the CDC. What this means is that there's low sustained transmission and we need to help raise awareness about this infectious disease. According to a recently published article by the CDC, Chagas disease has been reported in humans in 8 states, including California and Texas, and 32 states now contain the kissing bug, which transmits the parasite Trypanosoma cruzi, which causes Chagas disease. There are various modes of transmission of Chagas disease, but it starts with infected fecal matter from the kissing bug, and then that material could come into contact with broken skin, or you touch your mouth or eyes. It could also pass through blood or from mom to baby congenitally. There are 3 phases to this illness. The first is the acute phase that lasts for about 4 to 8 weeks, where people have a fever, headache, fatigue, malaise, and they could be having swelling at the site of the bite called a chagoma, or if the parasite enters the eye, you can get swelling that's called Romagn's sign. If left untreated, it could enter a latent phase where you don't really have any symptoms for years or potentially decades. Then it ends up in this chronic phase potentially where you could develop potentially a fatal heart arrhythmia or severe gastrointestinal complications. Chagas disease is treatable if you identify it and treat it with antiparasitic medications early on, which is why CDC scientists urge that the general public understands that this is a possibility so that healthcare workers in this country know about it and can potentially test and treat that, as we are now potentially entering an endemic phase. So please share this information widely so that people are aware about Chagas disease.
Authorities are warning, if you see any rabbits with tentacle-like growths, stay away. Today, on the internet, people have been freaking out after these images have emerged of diseased rabbits with tentacle-like growths and horns. And while these rabbits, which were spotted in Fort Collins, Colorado, do look like some shit out of The Last of Us, there's actually a pretty logical explanation. These growths are actually caused by a virus called Shope papilloma, and while there is no cure for this disease, believe it or not, it's fairly common among certain rabbit populations in America, and it's not even new. In fact, there are some records of it dating all the way back to the 1930s. And before the word virus starts making you lock your doors, these things are kind of like benign cancers that just continue to grow, but they won't necessarily harm the rabbit unless it spreads into a sensitive area. The disease also, thankfully, cannot be passed to humans or other animals. However, authorities have recently reiterated and warned locals to stay away from them to avoid stressing them out or provoking them.
Interesting facts you never knew. The last one will shock you. If you stay up all night, your body burns an extra 161 calories. If you pinch the skin on your elbow as hard as you can, you won't feel any pain. One of your friends wants to be more than a friend to you. It's the third person you see when you click on share and then more. A woman can get pregnant while she's already pregnant and have children by two different people at the same time. If you Google the word askew, the page will tilt slightly clockwise. Go do it and then come back and let me know if it worked in the comments below. There's a syndrome where people believe they're turning into trees called Cotard's syndrome. Almost 20 million people share the same birthday. Comment your birthday and see who has the same one as you. My birthday is August 29th. Before the last fact, support me by clicking the follow button for more interesting facts every day. A British Marine had a leg tattoo of Liverpool's motto, "You'll never walk alone." He got hurt in Afghanistan and had to get his leg amputated, which also cut off part of the tattoo. Now it says, "You'll never walk."
The wildest alien encounter has been hidden by the Mexican government for over 50 years. It all happened to this 23-year-old Mexican student pilot named Rafael Perez, who was going out to fly a plane on his own for the first time in 1976. And I can't think of any other explanation to what happened to him next. He takes off at about 8:30 a.m. at an airport close to Mexico City on a training flight expected to take about an hour or so. But almost immediately after taking off, Rafael is surrounded by a thick fog that rolls in out of nowhere, and he can barely see what's directly ahead of him. He tries contacting air traffic control for help, but strangely doesn't hear back from anyone. Now he realizes something definitely isn't right, so he attempts to turn left to loop back around to the airport, but his plane isn't turning. It just keeps flying straight. And then randomly, his plane starts speeding up, rapidly climbing higher and higher into an enormous cloud patch above him completely on its own. He's gaining altitude so fast that he ends up passing out. Next thing he knows, he's waking up in his cockpit, scrambling to his senses, realizing that he somehow hasn't crashed the plane. Rafael looks out the window and he's cruising along just fine, seeing nothing but the open ocean out ahead of him, the fog now completely gone. He checks the time and realizes something isn't right. It's 11:30 a.m., meaning he was out cold for well over 2 hours. The fact that his plane was still flying was already miraculous enough, but then he looks up his coordinates and finds out that's the least of his problems. He was way out above the ocean, further from the coastline than he's ever been. But what didn't make any sense was that the distance from the airport he took off from to where he was now was way further than what a plane could have physically traveled in that time span. An amateur first-time pilot who was passed out just set a world record flight time by accident. Not just that, but his fuel gauge was still almost full, and again, there's no way he could have traveled that far while barely burning his tank. Almost like he was either accelerated by an external force or maybe even teleported. He has no idea what's going on when finally a voice comes in over the radio asking if he's okay. Rafael responds explaining his situation, how he flew into a fog, lost control of his plane, then passed out and and now has no idea how he got here. The guy on the other end of the radio is Carlos, air traffic control, who oddly asks Rafael if he's alone in his plane, to which he replies, yes, of course I am. Carlos then lets him know that he's actually off the coast of the Mexican city of Acapulco, which would have normally been a 3-hour flight, but he somehow got there in a little over an hour. And there was something very concerning he had to tell him in person. So Rafael lands the plane at the Acapulco airport, and immediately men in suits rush him as he's getting off the plane to take him to a hospital. They test him and verify he's completely sober. A psychologist even confirms he's clinically sane. Rafael has no idea what's going on, and so they finally reveal what really happened to him during his flight. Turns out that while he was out, Rafael actually had a full-on conversation with Carlos that he doesn't remember at all, and it was all recorded. And what Rafael said over the radio is a little disturbing. The pilot is speaking because he is ordered to. That is, it is his voice he speaks, but not of his own free will. We will use it as a microphone. Your equipment is too primitive. No matter who we are or where we come from, it is enough for you to know that we are beings of this universe where you belong. Our planet is many light years away, but we are physically equal. I repeat that all races in the universe are physically equal. You are not alone in the universe, and there are other races that are far away from you, and we are watching you. For the next hour, Rafael talks about humans being the only intelligent species in the universe that still partakes in warfare and violence among their own kind, going back and forth in discussion with Carlos on how humanity's on the trajectory of nuclear annihilation and may end up getting exterminated if they continue down this path. That we are an inferior civilization on the grand scale of the universe, and there are even other species physically similar to us but mentally much more developed. It appears as though some extraterrestrial entity took control of Rafael and his plane and used his body as a vessel of communication to speak with other humans, initially speaking to them in Spanish, and this all really happened. You can even find a log and the actual original audio of the entire convo online. They even tested the alien, asking it questions in English and German, to which Rafael responded with perfect understanding and fluency in those languages. Yet he only ever spoke Spanish before this. No one had or still has any idea how Rafael ended up off the coast above the ocean or what caused him to start saying the things that he was saying. A very detailed conversation that Rafael has zero recollection of, which some attribute to some form of temporary psychosis. But speaking in English and German and the oddly specific nature of the dialogue suggests otherwise, because another declassified report from Mexico that happened just a year before then might explain who or what this was. In 1975, another pilot, Carlos de los Santos, was flying above this area, just a little north of Acapulco, the same region Rafael got possessed in just a year later. This time, the pilot is surrounded by 2 metallic craft hovering right above his wingtips, and a third directly under him. Again, there's a full audio record of this online as it's happening in real time, and you can hear the terror in the pilot's voice. The 3 craft take control of his airplane, which he described looking exactly how UFOs are reported to look like today. Smooth exterior, no visible propulsion system at all. Controlling his plane for a whole 18 minutes before zipping away. After they left, the pilot landed safely, only to be medically examined as totally sober and sane, and approached by the all too familiar men in black, who told him he didn't see anything. Who in an interview, the pilot himself revealed, they said in Spanish, "If you appreciate your life, don't talk to anyone." Seems like the United States isn't the only country to get visited by aliens and UFOs, it's just the one with the loudest mouthpiece. These are official reports of alien possession and UFOs that the Mexican government quickly buried almost 50 years ago, as they had no explanation for them, only to regain attention recently on the internet. Which really makes you think, how many more reports are out there in different countries around the world that haven't been made public? Hey, for entertainment purposes only, right, Mr. FBI guy watching this video?
Everyone needs to know what's happening in Nepal right now. At least 8 people have died today after huge Gen Z-led protests broke out against the government's decision to ban social media. At one point, after the protests turned violent, police used tear gas, water cannons, and rubber bullets against a large group, mostly in their teens and 20s, who broke through police barriers and stormed the federal parliament. As the situation escalated, a curfew was imposed and the army was deployed. But you see, the reason they're so angry is that on Thursday, the government banned 26 social media apps, claiming users have been spreading hate speech, fake news, and committing crimes online. So in response, they announced that all social media companies needed to register with the government, or their access will be blocked to Nepal's 30 million citizens. However, only 5 decided to register, including TikTok, but 26 others like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, WhatsApp, Reddit, etc. all refused. Partly because registering with the government would require them to do things like remove prohibited content within 24 hours of complaint, develop algorithms to prevent illegal content publication, monitor for hate speech, misinformation, and harmful content, and comply with content removal orders from the government. But since the majority didn't register, the social media blackout has already caused chaos because many companies rely on social media to make money. Many use it to communicate with family working and living abroad. Many use it for news and information. And then, of course, there's the biggest issue, the freedom of speech. Many people allege that this is an attempt to silence people's voices and their criticisms against government corruption. In fact, a series of draft bills being debated in Nepal's government right now could mean that people are fined or even jailed for content that is deemed against national interest, and would also allow the government to shut down newspapers and revoke the licenses of journalists. And that's a huge issue because today's protests were only inflamed by the social media ban. The main root of the frustration is government corruption. Their prime minister has hit back at these allegations, one, denying them, and also saying he would not tolerate the nation being undermined, and that the independence of the nation is greater than the loss of jobs of a handful of individuals. And so, as of right now, TikTok is pretty much the only platform that they'll even be able to see this video on.
Well, Drewski's new skit both have him and Theo facing backlash on the internet. Crazy word. Here's what's going on. Drewski pretended to be a white NASCAR fan, and while social media was laughing about it, others were saying that it's basically whiteface and he should be canceled for it. Theo said, nah, I'm trying to hop on the fun. I'm about to get my Jerry curl on. Yeah, well, people wasn't going for that. They said if he do that, not only he'll be labeled racist, but it will also be blackface. While you have others saying, nah, if Drewski can do it, why can't he do it too? It's all for giggles at the end of the day. So now Drewski is being threatened on Twitter to take down the video, while Theo is being threatened not to do what Drewski did, but in reverse. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think either one of them care. Be honest with you. Telling Theo he's gonna get canceled for something is gonna make him want to do it more. I don't think you guys realize that. And Drewski is definitely not taking down that video. I'm just being honest with you. He's not taking it down, bro. Like, I can only see this as people are gonna get even more mad. I'm gonna be honest with you. What do you guys think about this whole situation though? I'm just here reporting.
Yes, so for those of you who are not unemployed like the rest of us, I guess, apparently Drewski did a skit where he pretended to be a white redneck. In my opinion, it was like a lighthearted, funny video. If the other dude does it with, and he's, I guess, quote unquote blackface, and he does it in like a light, funny way, in my opinion, it's fine. You know what I'm saying? These are comedians at the end of the day. But just in case you guys didn't see the Drewski video, I'm gonna put it in. Let me know your thoughts about it. In my opinion, it was like lighthearted. I don't think he really wanted to be racist. It was funny. But if Theo Von did it, do you guys think a lot of people would actually like freak out? Like, oh my God, he's blackface, he's being racist? Let me know what you guys think.
Here's the love, here's the honor. If you can't come in her, come on her.
Travis Squad.
Hey, Suanna. Suanna.
She's not listening.
You come up, you need to listen to your nana. Go ahead, baby.
6 o'clock.
Girl, you crazy now. Hey, Big Ma. How you doing, baby? How you doing, baby? Good. All right, now. Hey, you lost, boy?
No, I'm going to the race.
What race?
NASCAR race.
You going to NASCAR?
Yes, sir. A little bit.
You ain't lost, did you?
No, I'm good. I'm going to the race, sir.
Sure about that?
Yes, sir.
Find something safe to do, boy. Yeah. If liquor don't kill us, pussy must. Oh, that fucker will go. Who are you? I see. Dan Arthur.
Randy Van Devin.
Dan Arthur. Oh, South Dakota.
Yeah.
Damn right. Proud to be American.
morning in the spring of 1959, a middle-aged civil engineer named Wu Chiu biked through his rural town in Taiwan. He had gotten word that his wife had become horribly sick. As he got to his neighborhood, he started to realize that he was really gassed. Pedaling to his house was just unbelievably exhausting. He saw one of his neighbors, and his neighbor kind of scowled at Wu, and they turned and just went the other way. As he finally gets to his house, Wu would find his wife in their bedroom, and she was looking very pale and sick. Her name was Lin Wang Yao. She was 37 years old, and so Wu immediately began to tend to his wife. But over the next couple of days, Lin did not get better. Wu knew, like, if I don't get my wife to a hospital, she might not make it. One of his neighbors had a donkey cart. Put her on the cart, and by the time they're there, like, Lin is basically unconscious, and then she died. In Taiwan, it's customary during funerals to have the body of the loved one be brought into the house where it stays for 7 days before they're cremated. And then over the next several days, Wu was at home next to his dead wife. On the third day, everybody in the room just suddenly went completely silent, and then people began to gasp. And they were looking at the casket, and there is Lin, except now she's sitting upright, looking around the room, clearly alive. The next day, when they woke up, Lin was so much better, he began to notice something really strange. She just sounded different. Before Lin died, she had been illiterate, but now she was not only able to read, but she could also read and speak fluent Mandarin, a language she didn't know. Wu and Lin became the biggest curiosity in town, that it eventually reached the Taiwanese government. And so on March 17th, 1962, the Taiwanese government sent for Lin, and they tell her she's going to be meeting with the chief physician there. She walks in the room, Lin looks at him like with a double take, and she says to the chief physician, "Uncle?" Lin revealed to the chief physician that Lin really was not her name. Her real name was Zhu Shuhua. They did have a niece whose name was Zhu Shuhua, and a year earlier, she'd gone missing during the Chinese Civil War, and she had been presumed dead, but nobody had ever found her body. According to Lin, Zhu did die during that war. Her spirit was sort of stuck in this purgatory for some time. Then, a year after Zhu's death, when Lin died, Lin said that Zhu's spirit entered Lin's body, thus she came back to life, but in a different body. Back in the beginning of the story, when Wu is hustling home, biking as fast as he can, when those neighbors were interviewed, they would say that the reason they gave those looks to Wu is because they knew Wu was married to Lin, and he's got this woman sitting on the back of his bike. Now, Wu swore there was no woman on his bike, but he would recall that the bike did feel really heavy. Later, Lin would say that actually Zhu's spirit had come down and hopped on the back of Wu's bike, and then once Lin passed away, she switched places with her. For the rest of her life, Lin would live as Zhu, and she would become a community and spiritual leader, and she would pass away in 2018 at the age of 97. And so if reincarnation is real, this story might just be one of the most credible cases ever recorded.
Dude, if reincarnation is real, not only is that the most insane case I've ever heard, that like genuinely sent chills through my body. I was like, what? Dude, if that is a real story, like that really happened, that really shocked me.
Chagas disease is now spreading across America. It kills by attacking the heart, and most who carry it don't even know. The CDC confirms the insect that spreads it, the kissing bug, is now found in 32 states. Infections are confirmed in California, Texas, Arizona, Louisiana, Missouri, Arkansas, Mississippi, and Tennessee. In Los Angeles County, over 45,000 people may be infected, and 98% are unaware. The bug strikes at night, biting the face and leaving behind parasite-filled feces. When scratched, the parasite enters the bloodstream. It hides for years, then strikes. Symptoms are often ignored: fatigue, fever, vomiting, swollen eyelids, but damage builds over time. Up to 30% will suffer heart failure, digestive collapse, or sudden cardiac arrest. Infected animals are turning up across the South and East, New Mexico to Maryland. This is no longer an imported disease. It's spreading. The CDC now recommends Chagas be declared endemic, permanently established in the US. Over 300,000 people may already be infected. Most have never been tested. This is a silent outbreak, and it's not going away.
A third of the Buddhist monks at a temple in northern Thailand have tested positive for meth. 6 out of 18 monks at Wat Protham in Pijit province were disrobed after failing surprise drug tests during a police raid on Monday. Officers also found meth pills, a homemade gun, and bullets hidden in the temple. The 6 monks were kicked out of the monkhood and sent for rehabilitation.
Dude, monks? Yo, monks are known to be the most disciplined people of all time. There's literally a study I've seen that's shown that monks' brainwaves are completely different from the average human, like completely.
The world has changed so much in the last 20 years. In 2005, Sony filmed arguably the most insane TV commercial in history. They launched 250,000 bouncing balls down a suburban street in San Francisco. Also, they could highlight the vast array of colors that their new TV screen could display. They called it color like no other. Now, not only did this cause tens of thousands of dollars in damages, but it also led to a countrywide bouncy ball shortage. They somehow got approval from both the city and the local residents that lived along the street where they wanted to film it, saying, "We're not sure exactly what's gonna happen, but whatever we destroy, we'll fix it 10 times better." Bro, some of these balls reached up to 136 miles per hour. They caused $74,000 in damages to broken windows and dented cars, and they even found some of the balls after miles away. And despite the need for a hefty cleanup, the locals loved it. And apparently, till this day, some of them say that they still find an odd rubber ball somewhere in a gutter every now and again. Unsurprisingly, it quickly became one of the most popular television commercials of the 2000s. It won multiple awards, and it helped Sony bounce back after falling profits. And I guess you know an ad is successful when we're still talking about it 20 years later.
So there's a treasure chest worth about $2 million buried somewhere in the mountains, and about 300,000 people are about to try and find it. It all starts with this guy. His name's Forrest, and Forrest is 58 years old, living in New Mexico, and bro, he's kinda like a real-life Indiana Jones. He finds and trades and sells precious artifacts from around the world. He actually runs a little art gallery in New Mexico. But one day in 1988, his whole life falls apart because he's diagnosed with terminal cancer. And the doctors tell him that he only has a 20% chance of living the next 3 years. And this really sucks for him. He doesn't know what he's gonna do. So, being the eccentric guy that he is, he decides he's gonna die with some of his valuable artifacts. He apparently wants to inspire people to get out and explore. You know, like maybe once he dies, they'll find him out there and they'll find the treasure. And so he gets started on this plan. He goes and he buys a special box and he fills it with $2 million worth of valuable artifacts that he's collected over the years. Like some gold nuggets, some ancient Chinese carved jade figures, an ancient gold ring, a gold bracelet, stuff like that. Then he maps it all out, that he's gonna take that box into the Rocky Mountains with him and he'll find a nice place to lay down with it and he'll basically just die with it, I guess. However, that doesn't actually happen because he ends up getting better and he beats the cancer. I guess it goes into remission. And he's so happy and he's so relieved that he can keep on living. And so fast forward to 2010 and Forrest is 80 years old now. And he's approaching what might be his final years again. And so he starts thinking about his old plan again to get people out exploring and living a life of adventure like he did. And so this time he decides to hide his treasure box with $2 million worth of artifacts in it somewhere in the Rocky Mountains. And he's gonna turn it into an old-fashioned treasure hunt, thinking maybe this will inspire people to become, treasure hunters. So he hikes up into the mountains to the spot where he planned on dying all those years ago. And he buries the chest in a place that's in Yellowstone National Park. Then he writes and publishes his memoir called The Thrill of the Chase. And in it, he talks about his life, but it also includes hints and clues about where this treasure is throughout the whole book. Specifically in a poem he wrote that he says will lead anyone to the treasure. So now, boom, the hunt is officially on. And pretty quickly, word of this treasure hunt starts to get around, and people are like, yo, there's $2 million treasure buried somewhere in the Rocky Mountains. And they all start looking for it. Tens of thousands of people start looking for it. And they're all like picking up his memoir, they're combing through it, looking for clues, they're analyzing the hell out of that poem that he wrote. And eventually, some of them even use like some kind of software to analyze Forrest's facial expression in TV interviews to maybe get some hints from that. And over the years, the amount of people who join this treasure hunt grows and grows. Supposedly, somewhere around 300,000 people are actively involved in this. But still, no one has even come close to finding it. And here's the thing though, searching in remote areas of the mountains actually gets really dangerous for some people. One person ends up falling off a 500-foot cliff, another person drowns while in a raft looking for this treasure. In fact, at least 5 people unfortunately die from being involved in this. It gets so bad that New Mexico police publicly call for Forrest to call off the treasure hunt because it's putting lives at risk. But of course, Forrest is like, nah. Because this is exactly what he wanted. He wanted people to get out and explore. But even still, at this point, no one is even getting close to finding this $2 million treasure. Until something kind of crazy happens. One day in 2018, this guy is scrolling on Twitter. His name is Jack. Jack, he's just a regular chill dude. He's around 30 years old. Jack's scrolling through Twitter one day and he stumbles across people talking about Forrest's treasure hunt. And he sees that this hunt has been going on for like 8 years at this point, yet no one has located the treasure. And he's like, $2 million? I gotta get in on that. Here's the problem though. Jack, he's not an Indiana Jones type. He's actually a former med student. He doesn't know how to treasure hunt. He's never done anything like that before. But he's a pretty smart guy. So he believes he has the ability to figure this out. So he gets to work and he starts reading tons of blogs that other people have posted on the internet. Blogs by people who have been out looking for this treasure. And he can see which locations they've already been searching and like things that they've already tried, stuff like that. Then he gets a copy of Forrest's memoir and he reads it over and over and over again. And he watches every single interview that Forrest has ever done, every word Forrest has ever said, everything Forrest has ever published, Jack has studied it meticulously. And soon he starts to notice that Forrest, he's not all that sophisticated of a guy. He's actually not embedding hidden secret meanings and double entendres in his writing. He's way more simple than that. And all the other treasure hunters out there are probably way overthinking it. Then he decides to go solo. Once he actually goes to the mountains and starts hunting, he doesn't engage with anyone else who's also looking for the treasure. He doesn't join their search parties or their social groups. He even starts avoiding the blogs because he doesn't want to get caught up in what a big group might think. And so Jack searches, and he searches, and he searches. And, this isn't easy for the guy. Like, it takes up a good chunk of his time. Every time he goes out into the wilderness to look, he's absolutely exhausted and he gets covered in scratches and bites. Some days he'll run out of water and have to quit. Some days he'll be searching in the woods and he'll just stop and sit down in the middle of nowhere and start crying out of sheer frustration. And he loses hope all the time. He's like thinking to himself, what if I can't ever find this treasure? What if 50 years go by and I'm still searching for this stupid treasure chest? But Jack doesn't want to give up quite yet. He keeps going. And 2 years go by. And Jack is 32 now, and he's still out there looking for this thing. And then, one day, he finally has kind of a breakthrough. Using his big brain, he had already figured out the general location of where the treasure might be, Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming. But now he thinks he knows the exact spot. This is it! He says, this is the spot where Forrest wanted to die. And so, after 25 days of looking for the treasure in that specific location, Jack finally finds it. And then he drives from Wyoming all the way down to New Mexico, where Forrest lives, and he lets Forrest know that he found the chest. And Forrest is all happy, and so Forrest goes and he announces publicly that the chest has been found. And other people who had been looking for the treasure chest get super pissed. And they accuse Forrest of never really hiding the treasure in the first place, and this is an inside job, and they claim that no one really found the treasure. Forrest just wanted to end the hunt. And then, of course, people start filing lawsuits against him. He also, at one point, this poor guy is getting stalkers. He starts getting death threats. People were starting to break into his home, thinking that he had the treasure hidden there. It is wild. But anyway, a few months after the treasure is found, Forrest ends up passing away at 90 years old. Here is a picture of him with some of the treasure. And a few years after that, Jack actually auctions off the contents of the chest for $1.3 million. And here's what the treasure box looked like in real life. It's not really looking all that special, is it?
It's very crazy to me how people were sending him death threats because they couldn't find his things.
Guys, we may have just witnessed the single biggest glaze in human history. A Brazilian businessman who recently died left his entire $1 billion fortune to Neymar. And no, not because they were best buddies, they never even met. The businessman was just a massive fan of Neymar, and he didn't have any family, nor wife, nor kids. And in his will, which was obtained by Brazilian media, he said, "I like Neymar, I identify with him a lot. He's not self-serving, something rare these days. His connection with his father reminds me a lot of the one I had with mine, who passed away." And just to put this insane amount of money in perspective, which consists of properties, investments, shares in companies, when you add it all up, it's over 3 times Neymar's current rumored net worth. So if Neymar decides to accept, he would have made more money from one single fan than he did in his entire football career. Now, it still has to be approved by the court, but many people are saying that he should give it away since he doesn't need it, while others argue that this was his last dying wish for Neymar to have his money, and if he wanted it to go to charity, he would have done that. So the question is, what should Neymar do?
Respectfully, I'm not Neymar, so I'm not going to say what Neymar should do. Actually, I am actually about to say what Neymar should do. This is big proof of why the rich get richer, because why does Neymar already have like around $300 million? He definitely doesn't need $300 million to live. So now he has like over $1 billion. He doesn't even need that. If I was Neymar, personally, I would probably split it, you know what I'm saying? Probably take like 300 mil and like give the rest to like some type of cancer foundation, charity foundation, homeless people, like something bigger, you know what I'm saying? Because Neymar literally does not need any of that money. He already does what he loves and makes money. So to him, money is like literally nothing. Big proof of how the rich get richer. It's actually insane. And you know what's also very sad about that case? They said he was a billionaire with no kids, no family. I don't remember if he said he had no friends or not, but like that should be such a soulless environment. Like as much as everyone watching this video probably wants to be rich and successful, to be rich and successful but having no one to enjoy it with, like no girlfriend, no family, no friends, should be super soulless. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you have all this money, you can buy whatever you want, the boat, the yacht, the jewelry, the car, but you have nobody. Should be absolutely terrible, man. As much as I want to be super wealthy when I get older, I do not want to have like a soulless wealthy future, you know what I'm saying? Like I want to have people that I generally enjoy being around, be very healthy, stuff like that, man. I feel like that's what makes life good. I feel like money, when you have money, it doesn't really hit as much. But yeah, man, if you guys got this far in the video, remember to like the video so it gets pushed to more people. If you haven't subscribed yet, smash that subscribe button. Join the 30% of people that are already subscribed to the channel. We're pushing 100K. Let's go.
Thank you all for watching this here video.